Chapter 1. 1. The Flashpoint. A New Hope. Spoiler for the Flash movie. Proceed with caution if you don't want to be spoiled. But I doubt anyone would heed my warning. And again, I do not own the DC characters and Omnitrix from Ben10 series. They all belong to their respective owners. I am just writing a fan FIC, so don't sue me. Peace out. Bye. Barry, wait. The man in the red spandex with golden LEDs shouted at another person in a red costume with a yellow lightning bolt spray painted on it, whose suit appeared to be crafted from remnants of a cosplay costume. We've got to save them. We can save them, said the man in the $10 cosplay costume. No, we can't, Barry. This is inevitable. It's an absolute point in time. We can try 1,000,000 times, but we can't fix this. This world is destined to perish today. The man in the $10,000 costume looked around as the space around them slowly began to disintegrate. Look around. See how much damage we're causing to this universe. The man in the red suit with LED lights turned back to the man in the $10 costume. Now, we have to stop, okay? While the man in the $10,000 costume attempted to convince the other to cease this madness, his words only further infuriated the man in the $10 spandex suit. Listen, dude, I was just doing my laundry, and you're the one who showed up and told me I'm a superhero. And now what? You don't want me to be? Well, guess what? It's too late. I am the Flash. And nobody dies. I can save everyone. Barry roared, his voice echoing throughout the Speed Force. Both men in red suits were the Flash, a superhero from Central City. He got his powers after being struck by lightning and doused in chemicals, gaining a connection to the Speed Force, becoming the fastest man alive. The man in the $10 costume was his younger self from a new timeline created when he attempted to save his mother from being killed when he was young. However, things went terribly wrong, altering the course of history. Many superheroes who were supposed to exist to protect Earth were nowhere to be found, leaving the world facing an impending threat with no one to stop it. So with the assistance of his younger self, Batman, Thomas Wayne, and Kara Zor-El, a Kryptonian, he attempted to confront a world-ending threat, General Zod and his subordinates. Zod had come to Earth in search of the codex stored within the last daughter of Krypton, Kara Zor-El. However, the battle didn't go as planned, as Kara wasn't strong enough to defeat Zod like Kal-El, known as Superman, and she perished while fighting him. Batman also met his demise while destroying the Kryptonian ship. This only hastened the planet's demise as the codex was extracted from Kara's body, and Zod initiated the terraforming of Earth into the new Krypton. So both Barrys decided to attempt to travel back in time to prevent the tragedy. But it didn't go as planned, resulting in the deaths of both Kara and Batman once more. They made repeated attempts to reverse time, but after a few tries, future Barry understood that there was a critical juncture in history that could not be altered. No, we can't, Barry. We can't. Not this time. Sometimes we have to let go, Barry said, understanding the pain of letting his mom die again. Let go of Mom. The younger Barry shouted back in anger that his future self wanted to let their mom die. She will always be alive somewhere in time. Always. Just not for us, Barry replied. You're full of it, dude, the younger one cursed. I'm going back, the future Barry said and took a step back to run back in time to undo the change he made, but he was stopped by the younger version. Going back? You're going back to kill Mom? The younger version shouted as he grabbed his future self. No, you stay. You stay right here. Just give me one more chance. With those words, he dashed out of the chronoball. The future Barry tried to stop him but was caught by another speedster covered in black armor. The man grabbed him and slammed him to the floor, then used his lightning to strangle Barry. Ay-ha-ha-ha. Barry screamed in agony as his limbs were stretched forcefully by the lightning binds. The man then slammed Barry down to the ground again. Barry crawled from the floor to look at the being who had knocked him out of the Speed Force before, causing all of this to come to fruition. We started off on the wrong foot, Barry tried to lighten the mood. Let's start again. I'm the Flash. What's your name? I have lived more than you can dream, the black-armored man replied. Crackle. Not an answer, Barry said as he rubbed his hand to charge static electricity. Do you rehearse that? Crackle. Electricity surging. As the charge was complete and Barry was about to blast the dark speedster with his lightning, the younger Barry entered the chronoball unexpectedly. The younger Barry was shocked by the dark speedster. Get out of here, Barry. Barry warned his younger self as he brought his hands together to blast the dark speedster away. But the dark speedster moved faster, stopping his hands from touching each other and releasing the stored charge. While they both were grunting at each other, the younger Barry charged his lightning and shot it at the dark speedster, successfully knocking him off from future Barry. Crackle. Crackle. The dark speedster got to look at the younger Barry. One side of his helmet disintegrated to dust, showing a scar running across his cheek. The younger Barry saw it and was shocked. Oh my God, Seer, you are. He struggled to find the words. Yes, I am. You, answered the dark speedster. The dark speedster turned to future Barry. We are so close. I've got it. Almost figured it out. How long have you been doing this? Barry asked the clearly older dark speedster. Time is inconsequential, the dark speedster replied as he extended his hand toward Barry. Come on, Barry. Future Barry moved away from him, not taking his hand. Lightning crackle. Rumble. All three Barrys turned toward the sound, only to see many worlds colliding into each other. They observed numerous versions of themselves in these worlds, all running like them within the Speed Force chronoball. A Superman with long hair was fighting against a giant spider. Look at what's happening. These worlds. Explosion. Colliding and collapsing. We did this. We're destroying the fabric of everything. You have to stop, Barry tried to convince the Dark Speedster. It stops when I fixed it, the Dark Speedster shouted back. It's not entirely your fault, Barry. I pushed you out of the Chronobowl on that September 29th, so you could set me on this path. The Dark Speedster talked as he walked around Barry. How do you like our endless paradox? I made you create me. And now you are the one in my way. No matter how close I get to winning this fight, you go back and let Mom die. You are the inevitable intersection. And you do have to let go. What's he talking about? The younger Barry asked in confusion. You are my hero, the Dark Flash said before he charged up his blade with his energy. The Dark Speedster moved toward Barry and swung his blade to impale him, but the younger Barry jumped in to protect him, causing himself to get impaled by the blade. The Dark Speedster stumbled back in shock as he had stabbed his younger self. Hey, it's okay. It's gonna heal. It's gonna heal. Future Barry tried to console younger Barry, preventing him from panicking. I just wanted to. Rumble. Both of them turned to the sound and watched as the Dark Speedster was erased from existence and turned to dust. Barry, understanding the meaning, tried to stop the younger Barry from bleeding. Hey, younger Barry called and pulled out a small teddy bear from under his suit, handing it over to future Barry. You tell Mom I love her. Those were his last words as he took his last breath. Seeing the death of his younger self, whom he thought of like a brother, dying in his arms, the Scarlet Speedster cried in silence. Rumble. With the death of the Dark Speedster, who had been causing disturbances in time, the worlds returned to normal as they began to fix themselves and continue on their own courses. With the worlds fixed and the damages undone, the Flash ran back to correct what he had done wrong. As the Flash corrected the change he had made to create this new timeline, history began to change, and the universal knots unraveled themselves. Back on the battlefield, when General Zod had stabbed Kara Zor-El, time was not flowing forward but backward, against its natural course. Soldiers were running backward, their bullets returning to their guns, and the destruction recoiling. However, amidst all of time moving backward, a single anomaly walked among the destruction. He casually strolled toward the spot where Zod had stabbed Kara while Farah held her up. The anomaly extended his hands and gently took Kara from Farah's grasp, and she let go as she moved backward in time. Unlike how they should have perceived him moving backward in time, he seemed like a mirage, appearing within time. The past versions didn't see him moving backward in time. To them, he was moving normally. Only he was moving back in time, but he was not confined by time itself. While he held Kara tightly, her emotions reversing as she tried to comprehend what was happening, the anomaly gazed into the distance, where a lightning storm raged, simultaneously destroying and restoring the timeline. Sir, the temporal storm is here. It is advised to leave quickly. A voice came from the watch he was wearing on his left hand. I know, Trix, replied the anomaly. He then held Kara close to his body as the lightning storm approached. He lifted his hand and looked at his watch. The futuristic device had a hexagonal faceplate with 2 golden lines connecting the corners, creating an hourglass shape. The watch hummed with an unknown power. Password, ZE1206, lock form. With those words, the watch flashed with golden light before seemingly sinking into the anomaly's wrist. Following the disappearance of the watch, the dark skin of the anomaly began to be covered by a substance resembling the night sky, a dark background filled with countless stars. When the transformation was complete, the anomaly appeared as a being that embodied the universe itself. He then waved his hand, enveloping Kara in a chronoshield before using his finger to tear the fabric of reality. It's time to move to another dimension. With those words, he walked into the tier, vanishing with his ethereal words echoing in the new timeline for an eternity to come. The next moment, the tear in space was annihilated by the temporal storm, erasing everything that indicated the presence of a dimensional tier. The dimensional tier closed behind the anomaly as he entered a new, vibrant universe. He stood above a beautiful planet that was experiencing its sunrise, with a yellow sun in the center of their solar system. When he looked down, he could see many people waking up from their slumber, some returning to their dream world. He knew he was now in another universe, on a different planet, but this didn't deter him from savoring the work of creation. Life thrived in this universe, and its mystical beauty never failed to amaze him in all its glory. His gaze then turned to the girl in his arms, frozen in time with a confused expression. He knew his mission, his purpose, was to protect this anomaly created by a temporal rupture when the Flash had created a new timeline. He had fulfilled his mission and could rest. However, seeing her and understanding her past, he couldn't find it in his heart to let her suffer alone again. He looked at the bright yellow sun in the distance and the new world at his feet, and he realized his destination was this planet. He was well aware of the dangers that lurked in the darkness of this universe, but he also possessed the power to protect it. With determination, he made his decision and undid the temporal shield. With her frozen time undone, Kara looked at the changed world around her in confusion before she noticed a being that stood before her. However, it wasn't her fault, as the celestial sapiens easily blended with the universe. When her eyes landed on the cosmic being, she moved back in alertness. She could feel the cosmic power radiating from the being, some similar to the stellar energy from the yellow sun. She then looked around once more, realizing that she was now in space. Why am I here? What happened to Zod? Where is Barry? She questioned, unperturbed by the power emanating from the being before her. The cosmic being waved his hand, and starlight gathered at his command, forming a projection of when she was killed and the various different variations. Kara was confused and taken aback by it, as she still remembered her fight with General Zod, which had only been a few seconds ago. Kara Zor-El, the being called, his voice ancient as the cosmos itself. The last daughter of Krypton. You are a temporal anomaly created by the Flash, Barry Allen. You died fighting General Zod, and he retrieved the codex and terraformed the planet into New Krypton while killing billions of species. But it has been changed by the Flash as he undid his mistakes. Kara listened to the being's words, taking a moment to understand them. She felt grief, not for her death, as she was prepared for it, but for letting millions die. However, knowing that Barry had done something to save them all, she felt relief. She didn't know how she could feel that way for humans who had imprisoned her. Kara Zor-El, you are one of the last Kryptonians in existence, the last hope. I saved you to give you another chance, a new hope. Kara's attention was brought back by the cosmic being's ancient voice. She then saw him point toward the planet below them. This planet is the same as the one you were imprisoned on, but here, your cousin Kal-El arrived safely on this planet. He is now the strongest being, protecting the planet from all threats with the help of other superpowered individuals. He paused and looked toward her. This is your new hope. A new start. A new home. But remember, you are an anomaly from another universe, and there is another Kara Zor-El who will arrive on this planet. There are also many threats that will aim to conquer this planet as it holds many secrets. So knowing this, do you agree to protect it? He asked, his tone final. Kara instinctively knew that her answer would change the course of her future. But she already had her answer. Yes, Kara answered. The cosmic being nodded before gesturing toward the world. Welcome to DC. DC? Kara asked, puzzled as she didn't know what that meant. It is the name given to this multiversal bubble. This is just one of the many multiverses in existence, a number you can't even imagine, the cosmic being explained in his ancient voice. Okay, Kara simply nodded. As my time in this universe is about to end, I shall show you where to start your journey. He then pointed toward a city with many high-rising buildings and intricate roads filled with many people. It's Metropolis, guarded by Kal-El. You can meet him there. Kara gave a nod in acknowledgement. And on a final note, absorb as much stellar energy as you can. It will help you grow stronger, but don't forget to increase your physical strength, he advised. Kryptonians don't gain strength instantly under the yellow sun. It happened over time. That was why Superman was as strong as he was, having lived his whole life under the yellow sun. Now, off you go. He crossed his arms as he looked at Kara, waiting for her to leave first. Okay, and thank you. Kara responded, eager to get away from this unknown entity. She knew she shouldn't blindly trust what someone or something said, but she instinctively felt that he was telling her the truth. She still remembered her weakening as she fought with Zod. She gave him a final nod of appreciation before she began to fly toward the bustling city. She didn't look back as she flew towards the city, trusting that the entity would not harm her. Her body was weakened, and if not for the rising sun giving her energy, she would have fallen towards the planet rather than flown. Kara flew for a few minutes, taking her time to observe this new planet and its inhabitants. She saw a city inside the ocean, an island full of women, and an underground gathering beneath another city. She saw people using many different powers, different from hers, while some used gadgets to simulate those powers. She saw people dressed in costumes defeating villains, and she even recognized one. She also saw lightning streaks that she recognized as stopping thieves in a different city. After her leisurely flight, Kara appeared above the city called Metropolis. She knew her cousin in this universe should be here, but she had forgotten to ask how she could meet him. However, being a Kryptonian under the yellow sun, she knew how sharp their senses were. So, she decided to call him Kall. Her voice boomed across Metropolis, drowning out the city's noise. She then flew up a bit so others could see her. She waited, with the rising sun bathing her in its warmth, her body growing stronger with each passing second under its rays. She waited for a minute, but she couldn't see anyone approaching, not even any masked individuals. Just when she was about to call again, a voice answered from behind. Who might you be? Kara turned to see a man dressed in red and blue with a symbol of hope on his chest. She understood that it was her cousin who had survived, but what she wasn't expecting was that he would be a grown man, not the baby cousin she had been sent to protect. I am Kara Zor-El, daughter of Zor-El and Alara Inze, from the planet Krypton. Superman or Clark was taken aback to know that there was another Kryptonian. But another shock followed. I am your cousin from another universe, Kara explained. Cousin? Another universe? Superman asked. Yes, from another universe where you failed to arrive on Earth and I did. I was imprisoned for years, but I escaped with the help of Barry and Thomas. I couldn't stop Zod, Kara lowered her head, feeling guilty about the world she had failed to protect. Okay, Superman sensed that the mood was turning dark, so he tried to change the subject. Why don't we go somewhere else to talk? It's not good to keep flying in the air. Kara agreed with his suggestion and gave a nod. Okay, follow me. Superman then turned and started to fly. Kara followed him, but the journey was long as Superman stopped to save people. He saved falling people, rescued those trapped in burning buildings, and stopped criminals in their tracks, doing even the smallest of help. Superman scratched his head as he left Kara waiting. I'm sorry, but I have to keep the city safe. I understand. Kara gave him a small smile. Superman scanned the whole of Metropolis to see if he was needed. After confirming that he wasn't needed at the moment, he flew out of the city and towards a more rural area. With his super speed, the silhouette of the high-rise city shrank in the horizon. The scenery shifted from the smoky city to the clean, fresh air of the countryside. He stopped when he reached a small house in the middle of a farm. It was the house where he had grown up. The anomaly stood in empty space, surrounded by celestial objects. The moon orbited the earth, always drawn to her but never touching. It spun around her in celestial beauty, sharing its light with those in darkness. He couldn't help but be amazed by the beauty of creation. Its ever-changing beauty was still breathtaking. He stopped admiring and looked down at Earth at Kara, who was following Clark into the house. As if feeling his gaze, she looked up at the sky, her eyes scanning the celestial canvas, but she couldn't find him. As she continued to search, Clark's voice called her, and she stopped searching and went inside. Time to go, the anomaly muttered. As if responding to those words, a golden light covered the celestialcipian. When the golden light dissipated, it left a human. The man appeared to be in his 30s, with dark chestnut skin, deep black eyes resembling an abyss, a triangular nose, thin lips, and a trimmed beard. The man looked down at his watch, which was glowing dimly. It was out of charge. It had an infinite energy core, but that didn't mean it worked indefinitely. It could work indefinitely but was not advised to. It needed to return to cooldown mode. Okay, Trix. Our journey ends here, but your journey will begin anew, the man said as he removed the watch from his hand. It was my honor serving you. A feminine mechanical voice sounded from the watch as the golden light pulsed. It was mine. So off you go. Without further ado, he hurled the watch toward the planet. It was an unexpected action, but the watch reacted by releasing a golden light that formed a protective cover around it as it entered Earth's atmosphere. The watch fell toward Earth with a fiery trail, like a meteor. Watching the watch falling toward Earth, the man smiled. He knew that sending the Omnitrix to the DC universe, where all kinds of aliens gather, was like giving a Pokemon trainer a Pokeball that could catch all Pokemon. It would create chaos, turning someone into an all-powerful being. But did he care? Not one bit. He was here to deliver two things. Kara, the temporal anomaly, and the Omnitrix. The Omnitrix was for a fellow soulbound, who was stationed in this multiversal bubble. He would need it as the storm that was arriving was something the heroes of this world couldn't handle. Wish you luck, you'll need it, he said that with a tired smile appearing on his face. The darkest hours are approaching. He then extended his hand and pointed toward the empty space near him. At first, nothing seemed to happen, but slowly but surely, the light distorted at that point. As time passed, the distortion grew, creating a black hole. Seeing that the path had been connected, he walked into it and vanished from the DC multiverse. So you're saying that a cosmic being saved you from your universe and brought you here. Then he asked you to protect this world, and you agreed. After that, he told you to come meet me. Am I understanding this correctly? Clark asked. Mostly, but yes, Kara answered. Clark supported his head with his hands, not quite sure how to process the situation. He wasn't in the best state of mind to fully comprehend everything, but as a caring cousin, he knew he needed to help Kara. My mother stays here, and she will be home in an hour. You can stay here for the time being. I'll come back after my work ends, Clark explained. Your work? Kara inquired. No, I have to go to the office, Clark clarified, then got up from his seat. Let me come with you, Kara said as she followed him outside. No need, rest for now. I'll inform my mother, and she will take care of you, Superman replied before flying away. Kara wasn't sure how to feel about being left alone in this unfamiliar world. She wandered around the small old house with a farm surrounding it and a barn in the corner. It was a typical countryside setting. Kara tried to find something to do, but there wasn't much she could do at the moment. Feeling a bit bored, she eventually made her way to the porch and sat in a chair, gazing at the calm countryside scenery. Here, she wasn't locked up or fighting a war to save a planet. She finally had some time to think about the situation she was in. She had somehow ended up here while in the midst of a battle on another world, and it had happened so quickly that she hadn't had time to process it. But now, she had to adapt to this new reality. Sitting on the porch, she reflected on her conversation with the cosmic being who had saved her. Kara Zor-El, you are one of the last Kryptonians in existence, the last hope. I saved you to give you another chance. A new hope. A new hope, Kara muttered to herself as she looked at the unfamiliar world around her. In this world she was free. She didn't need to fight a war to protect the planet, nor was she imprisoned in a dark cell. This new world represented her fresh start, her new hope. And there will be many who want to conquer this planet. So knowing this, do you agree to protect it? A new hope that she was duty-bound to protect as a Kryptonian, a symbol of hope. That's why she had promised to protect this new hope. With her resolve strengthened, Kara sat there, savoring the peaceful moment her new hope had brought her. New hope, she whispered, reaffirming her commitment. Chapter 2. Mission: A golden trail dragged behind a meteor. There is a meteor on the sky, a young man spoke onto his flip phone. I can, Zion. And don't change the subject, why did you take the car? The voice came from the phone. I wanted to ride it, the young man replied. He turned to look out the window, his eyes scanning the wheat field that stretched. He was now stealing the car of his friend to escape from his backwater town to go to a city. But you don't have a license. The voice snapped at him. Ah, come on, you know why I stole your car, young man, known as Zion, snapped back. We already had this conversation. I know that you are bored about the stagnant state of Heavenfield, but it is safer here than those high tower city, the voice explained in a tired voice. I know. But I want something more, spice in my daily life. All my days are just a repeated of the day before, Zion replied. He understood that his home was safe, but his heart yearned for more. He wanted an adventure. He wanted the thrill of the unknowns, a calling of the danger. Seeing that his friend wouldn't listen, the voice changed tactics. Zion, I am not going to say anything about you going to a city, but bring the car back. I need it. Get a car for yourself if you want to go to a city. This instantly worked. Ah, Zion groaned and hit the brakes. Tire screeching sounds. The car screeched to a stop. My tire better not be burned, Zion, the voice said. Yeah, your precious car's safe. Zion's voice oozed with sarcasm. Zion didn't want to take the car away after his friend said he needed it. He never liked borrowing someone's stuff. It didn't sit well with him. Exactly like how he doesn't like to share his own. He only borrowed the car today because he couldn't take the boring town anymore. Yes, it is my precious car, the voice said. Come back now. Pastor asked us to deliver some milk to orphanage for the service tomorrow. With that, as if knowing Zion would return, they call cut with a beep. H. Zion groaned in frustration. He leaned back on the seat as he felt his energy leak away. He could see the outline of the city in the distance. He could just step on the gas and reach there before sundown. His dream was within his grasp, but he couldn't. He was indebted to that boring place. Zion arrived at the church doorstep one fateful day. An abandoned baby, whose parents couldn't take care of him. He was taken in by the compassionate pastor who found him that day. Growing up in the church orphanage, Zion's childhood was marked by the comforting routines of daily prayers and the camaraderie of fellow orphans. However, the color of his skin, a beautiful chestnut brown, and his mixed Asian heritage made him stand out in a predominantly homogeneous community. This made his stay a bit difficult as those who are different always face discrimination. But amidst these difficulties, Zion found solace in his friendship with a kind-hearted boy named Mark. Mark had a gift for making others feel valued and included, and he never judged Zion. Their friendship became something he cherished in his life. But as he grew older, his feelings toward the town where church orphanage was located became more complex. On one hand, he cherished the close-knit community and the memories he had made within the church's walls. On the other hand, he couldn't shake the sense that the town was too small and limited. He found himself yearning for something more, an adventure beyond the familiar streets and daily routines. As Zion's yearning for adventure and the city grew stronger, he found himself at odds with his friend Mark, who had a completely different outlook on their hometown. While Zion saw the town as limiting and mundane, Mark cherished the tight-knit community, the familiar faces, and the sense of belonging that the town offered. Their contrasting desires didn't diminish their friendship, but it did lead to heartfelt discussion and debates. Mark, in his genuine way, expressed how much he valued the town's simplicity and the connections they had formed over the years. He believed that there was beauty in the routine, in knowing every corner and every person by name. Zion struggled to reconcile his own aspirations with Mark's contentment. He admired Mark's ability to find joy in what he viewed as a small world, but he couldn't shake the feeling that he was meant for something beyond. While Zion was taking a walk down the memory lane, he noticed that the sky was brightening up. Curious, he got down from the car to gaze at the sky, only to see the light in the sky getting bigger and brighter. Zion understood that the meteor had turned and was coming towards him, but instead of panicking, he stood there, mesmerized as if a spell was cast on him. In the mesmerized state, Zion extended his left hand toward the rushing light, his moments rigid like a mannequin. He stood there until the meteor fell on him, but instead of a flaming rock hitting earth and creating a fiery crater, a golden light washed over him. When the light settled, Zion stood in place without moving. Zion, who was in daze, slowly recovered, now filled with eons of memories, experiencing them all in but a split second. His eyes widened as his lips twitching as they curled up. With a broke smile, he looked down at his left wrist. His former empty wrist now had a watch attached to it. The watch resembled a digital wristwatch. Its faceplate resembling an octagon but more like a square with black, white and gold color scheme. The faceplate black with 2 gold stripes forming an outline for hourglass and extending to the strap and around, connecting back. The watch's hourglass shaped hummed with golden light before turning black. Zion looking at the watch, he knew what it was. It was Omnimatrix or Omnitrix, created by a Galvan scientist named Azimuth. It was the best of his creation, made to bring peace and harmony to the universe. But the one he was wearing now was different from the real Omnitrix even though it resembled one. Zion then looked up to the sky, his smile widening into a grin. He now knew his purpose and his place in this universe. Even though his memory bank had expanded to an unimaginable level, his core personality and memories were retained, not changing one bit of his character. The new memories were storied like a fleeting dream, not colliding with his core memories. He was still the small-town boy who wanted to go to the big city. Just the void of purpose had been filled. Now knowing what he needed to do, Zion got into the car and turned back to Heavenfield. He still needed to deliver the milk to the orphanage, which is just a bunch of bull his friends spouted to bring him back. It took about an hour for Zion to return. Seeing the welcome back to Heavenfield sign, a small smile crept up his lips. Even though he repeatedly said that he hated this small town, he still hiddenly loved it. With the car rushing into the town, Zion could already see that chapel tower in the middle of the city. He could also see his annoying friend standing outside the church, clearly waiting for him. When his friend noticed the car coming, he looked at Zion and gave him a knowing smile, to which he scowled in annoyance. He gently parked the car in front of the church, but he didn't rush to get out. Seeing his friend not getting out and was still annoyed, Mark walked to the side and knocked on the car window. Zion begrudgingly rolled down the window. Mark propped himself on the window and looked at his angry friend. "How was your ride?" Mark asked. Zion scowled at Mark's remarks, clearly being poked on sore spot. "What do you think?" Zion asked through gritted teeth. Seeing his friend clearly frustrated at the fact that he had to return, Mark tried to soothe him. "I know, Zion, that you are trying to find your purpose, but leaving your family to go to city where you don't know anyone feels like a total pain to me. I wanted to see, the world outside of this small town." Zion lowered his head, his anger fading away, only leaving a small frustration. "You can, but not in my car. So now get down. You won't win sympathy from me. I know all your acts." Mark smiled as he hit Zion back. Zion lifted his head and looked at Mark, his eyebrows furrowed. "I will, and in my own car." Saying that, he quickly got out of the car, letting Mark take it. How will you do it, my friend? Mark asked as got in car. I will build it on my own. On to the junkyard I go. Zion spoke and walked in the direction of the junkyard. Do you even know how to make one? Mark chuckled at his friend's antics. I will learn, Zion barked back and walked away. Mark just shook his head before he reversed his car out of the church. He will finish his job first and talk with his friend later. Mark knew Zion so well, so much so he knew that Zion doesn't hold grudges for long, not with him at least. But Mark didn't notice that Zion had something that will help him in his quest to freedom. A week later. Mark, how you doing, kid? A raspy old voice said. Mark turned his gaze to look at the old man who called him. He was Mr. John, the owner of the junkyard. The guy wore a worn, oil-stained work jacket adorned with patches and frayed edges, and a faded cap perched atop his silver hair. His eyes, though tired, held a glint of wisdom. He approached Mark with a warm smile of a grandfather. Mark smiled back. I am doing just fine, Uncle John. Uncle John was one of the oldest members of the church who used to visit the orphanage often. That's the reason most in the orphanage call him Uncle John. He was one of the warmest people on town. John approached Mark and gave him a hard pat on his back before he continued. What brings you to my treasury? Well, a grumpy friend of mine have been lost for a week now and all I know is that he has been here, Mark answered with a sigh. He didn't think that his friend would try to build a car just so he could leave. He thought Zion was just talking in anger, like all the time before. Like usual, he thought his friend would return, but to his surprise, Zion was absent the whole week, even for the Sunday service. So today he tried to locate him by asking around, only to find that Zion was still in the junkyard. He came to soothe his friend and take him back home, with some tasty burgers of course. Zion is the type of person you just need to feed to make them listen. That kid again, huh? John exclaimed as he finally remembered. Yes, that lad has been staying here for the past 7 days. He hasn't even been going out to eat much. When I asked him what he was doing even without eating, he answered that he was building a car to leave this boring town. So Mark, I know the kid from young. Tell what happened. Mark just sighed heavily before answering. Well, uncle, I kinda told him that he could leave the town if he were to have his own car. He took my car to leave and I had to. You know. I understand, John gave Mark a pat on the back. But you should let him go, Mark. Zion has grown up. He is not the crybaby friend you have to protect anymore. Mark just smiled at John as a response. And I think you better let him go. I feel like he is almost to the point of breaking down. I have been hearing unholy laughter echoing throughout the junkyard all night. It gives me goosebumps every time I remember it. John said, a hint of fear visible on his face. The last 7 nights was trial of faith for the man. He felt like the devil was testing his faith. He even went to ask the pastor to pray for him. Mark's smile cracked seeing the fear in John's face. He didn't know what to feel. I will check on him, he assured John before he walked into the junkyard with a bag of burgers. Okay. John replied before he left Mark to his duty. Mark felt the cold and murky atmosphere of junkyard even more after seeing the fear on John's face. His moments became unknowingly stiff as he traveled further in. Soon Mark started to hear the sound of metals colliding from the deepest parts of the junkyard. Following the sound of the noise, he arrived at an area where a car was with many parts were laying around. Zion! Mark called toward where the noise was coming from. The sound stopped immediately at his call. The junkyard became deadly still and silent, increasing the fear in Mark's heart. Mark started to feel increasingly nervous due to the deadly silence. Mark! A voice came from the back of the car followed by a head, where the noise was coming from. Mark visibly relaxed as he saw his friend walk out with a welding mask above his face. Zion was wearing a greased white long-sleeve t-shirt and torn black jeans. His eyes were red with black lines covering his eyelids. He looked like a person on death's door. Seeing his friend's state, Mark threw the bag of burgers to Zion. Zion caught the bag and immediately drooled at the smell of food. His stomach protested with a bestial growl. Thanks, Mark. Zion thanked as he threw the dirty gloves and opened the bag to get a burger. What were you doing? Mark asked, a bit of frustration in his voice. What do you mean? God, thank you for the food. This is so good. Zion chomped down on his food. What were you doing here? You didn't even attend the Sunday service and I haven't seen you for the past week. If not for knowing that you were in the junkyard, I would have filed a missing person case. Mark was angered by Zion's demeanor. What? It's been a week. I didn't know, Zion shrugged as he took another burger from the bag. At Zion's answer, Mark just gave him an angry glare. Okay. I know that I messed up. I forgot about time while I was building this baby. Zion tried to change the subject by showing his car. The car he had been building for the last few days with some help from his new tool. The car had a polished metal shine as it wasn't painted yet, but the mechanics inside the car was done and upgraded with the help of jury rig, gray matter, and upgrade to optimizing. Those 3 were proven to be deadly combo in building the car, which was more of a war tank than a car at this point. The car only looked shabby on the outside as Zion wanted to be subtle with appearances. He didn't want his car to scream, I am high-tech, come steal me. He didn't want any of those crazy scientists to eyes his car and try to kidnap it. He would need to go through a pain of dismantling their organization if that were to happen. Did you make this? Mark looked inside the silver car. The car looked well made for something put together with junkyard part. The car looked like a Mini Cooper, but with its unfinished job it just looked like a metal construct. Even though the car's outsides were unfinished, the insides were exquisite with leather seats with golden lines running through them, a hard black steering wheel. Yep, first I wanted to make the almighty truck Kuan, but I don't have enough omniversal power to bring him into existence. Zion clenched his hand in frustration. What are you rambling about? And I still can't believe you are even capable of building this car. No offense, but you are not the best tool in the shed, Mark said as he turned to Zion. Hey! Zion kicked Mark lightly. I only do thing when I want to and if I want to. If it's something I wanted to, I give it my all. Mark just dusted his jeans before he looked into Zion's eyes. What? Zion asked, chewing the burger. You really are stubborn about leaving, Mark sighed. Gulp, I need to go now more than ever. I have something to accomplish instead of some childish dream, Zion replied as he gulped the burger. Mark just raised his eyebrows at his words, because Zion was acting weird. What happened, Zion? Mark asked, his tone demanding truth. Zion looked at Mark. He knew that his friend is not going to be convinced by any bullshit he spouts. Things have changed, Mark. I have been given a mission to complete now. To do it, I have to leave this town, Zion said as he looked seriously into Mark's eyes. What mission? From whom? Mark thought that Zion got pulled into some shady business by bad people. From a higher being, to cleanse the world of evil, Zion replied with a mystery to it. Zion, Mark called, his voice serious as it could get. What happened? Who was it? Mark was sure that Zion got deceived by some charlatan on the road. Mark, I wasn't deceived, Zion answered, knowing what his friend thought. I just received a gift from a senior from work. You don't work anywhere and you sleep at my house and eat my food, Mark folded his hand. Well, you haven't met him. You would love him if you had, Zion said, pulling his left sleeve. He gave me this. Mark looked at the white watch with gold and black lines running through it. The watch looked toy watch that doesn't show time. Mark just raised his eyebrow and gave a look at Zion that asked, what am I supposed to understand? Look at this. Zion then pressed his fingers on the faceplate of the watch and circular hologram appeared above the watch, showing the faces of the different aliens in the Omnitrix. Zion then selected an OG alien in the watch. After selecting the alien, the faceplate slid up, revealing the Omnitrix's core, which Zion lightly pushed. The watch sunk into his hands and a golden light flashed, turning him into a human torch. After a second the light died down, leaving a semi-armored velociraptor. He had a black orb on his feet, a black tail with blue stripes, and bulky claws for his 3 fingers that can only open and close. A black cone-like helmet covered his head with a protective visor that slid down his face, which had green eyes, black lips, and stripes running under and in between his eyes. He wore a black bodysuit and turtleneck-like shirt. Mark stumbled back in shock and fear. He couldn't comprehend what had happened to his friend. He could only see the alien velociraptor. Zion, Mark called, his voice shaking. Yep, it's me. The helmet hummed with light before the visor rose back, revealing the XLR8's face. What? How? Mark asked in shock. It's the Omnitrix, a high-tech device that changed my DNA into another, Zion explained. Now, I am just taking one of those forms in the watch. This alien is super fast. With that, the visor slid back and he vanished from the place, leaving only an afterimage in his place. Then the next second a wind shock hit Mark, causing him to stumble, and when he turned to look, the car was fully painted with a black and gold scheme. See? Zion said as he arrived next to the shocked Mark. Wow! Mark was just shocked. He didn't know what to say about his friend turning into dinosaur and moving super fast. I know, with this I could do things that was unimaginable before, but I have also gained responsibilities, Zion said as he pressed the Omnitrix on his chest to change back. Seeing that Zion changed back, Mark visibly relaxed. Zion put his hat around Mark's shoulder and gave something to Mark. Mark, looking at the thing in his hand, looked at Zion with a questioning look. Don't say anything. It is non-lethal. It fires electric pulse to knock out people, Zion explained about the gun on Mark's hands. But why would I need it? Mark asked. I will be leaving, and if the info from my seniors is correct, the world is about to become a hellhole where monsters and godlike beings will battle it out. I will go beat them to the right path while you protect this town, Zion explained. Mark couldn't process the info Zion casually said. A fight of gods and demons that will turn the world to hell. What kind of apocalyptic novel is that? So, you are leaving to prevent those things from happening? Mark asked with a worried expression, still skeptical about it all. Seeing the worried expression on his friend's face, Zion gave an assured smile to his friend. It is dangerous, Zion, and I wouldn't have even believed you if you hadn't turned into an alien dinosaur. But I know that I can't stop you after you decide to do something, but I just hope you don't straight up die, Mark said as his lips curled up. You little. Zion tried to strangle Mark. Mark quickly got out of Zion's grasp and looked the gun in his grasp. The gun looked like a futuristic gun. So, how do you use this? Chapter 3. Start of a new journey. In the skies of Metropolis. Kara stood on the skies of the Metropolis, her gaze taking in the flurry of activity ongoing in the city. The sun warmed her skin as she observed the humans going about their daily lives. She watched as parents guided their children, laughter filling the air and the shops bustling with people. She had spent years in that dark prison, hidden away from the world, and now she was finally free. Beautiful, isn't it? Superman said as he flew next to her. Yes, it is, Kara answered. Superman and Kara were now patrolling the Metropolis to stop any crime from happening. This was arranged by Superman to have bonding time with his cousin. After all, he didn't have much time to talk with her as he was called to his superhero and reporter duties. So, Superman thought that maybe they could patrol and talk during it as he could do his job and Kara could learn about this world. This is what we fight to protect, Kara. The peace and joy of these people. I have lived with them and I believe in the potential for good in each person. I know that your situation was different and you might resent them, but my parents have showed me that they could be better. He then paused for a moment, as if collecting his thoughts. But it's more than that. I do what I do because I have the power to make a difference. When you have abilities beyond those of ordinary, you have a responsibility to use them for greater good. I want to inspire hope, to show people that there's someone out there who cares and is willing to stand up for them. Superman's eyes met Kara's, and she could see the sincerity and determination in his gaze. I know the world can be a harsh and unforgiving place, but I believe that even in the face of darkness, we can bring light. By protecting the innocent, by stopping those who would do harm, I hope to create a world where everyone has a chance to live without fear. Kara listened intently, taking in all his word. She also understood his reason to protect this world as she had done to hers. Even thought she hated the human of that planet, she still fought to save them, just like how Barry saved her from that dark prison. But she had questions. But what about the risks? What about the sacrifices you've to make? Is it worth it? I know I have taken a mission to protect this Earth, but my fight was with Zod, a Kryptonian trying to kill all the humans, to protect the entire planet, but here it is the humans that are each other for their greed. Superman's expression grew more serious. I know, it's not always easy, and there have been moments of doubt. But when I see the lives I've saved, the smiles on people's faces, the sense of unity and community that forms when people come together in crisis, it reaffirms my belief that it's worth every sacrifice. I may be an alien in many ways, but this world is my home, and its people are my family. He spread his arms wide as they soared through the sky. I want to inspire others to be their best selves, to stand up for justice and compassion. I want to show that even in the face of adversity, we can make a difference. Kara nodded, showing her understanding. I understand, Kal-El. I want to use my powers to protect. Superman's smile was warm and proud. I'm glad to hear that, Kara. The world could always use more heroes. Just remember, it's not the powers that defines us, but how we use them. With that they continued their patrol. Superman guided Kara through the city's skyscrapers and streets, pointing out key landmarks and explaining the dynamics of their superhero work. See the building down there? Superman said, pointing to a towering structure. It's one of the city's financial centers. Sometimes, I need to intervene when there are attempted robberies or security breaches. But it's not just about stopping criminals. It's about ensuring the safety of everyone in the area. Kara followed his gaze, her eyes narrowing as she focused on the building. And how do you decide when to step in? Superman's expression turned serious. It's a delicate balance. I monitor police scanners and news reports to gauge the severity of the situation. If innocent lives are at risk or if law enforcement is overwhelmed, that's when I intervene. But I also have to be cautious not to escalate situations unnecessarily. They continued their patrol, weaving between buildings and occasionally descending to street level. Superman pointed out moments of intervention, from saving a cat stuck in a tree to preventing a car accident. Each time, he emphasized the importance of assessing the situation and responding with precision. It's not just about stopping the immediate threat, Kara, Superman explained. It's about thinking ahead and preventing further harm. Sometimes that means using our powers creatively or finding non-violent solutions. Kara nodded, absorbing his lessons and watching his actions closely. And what about the people? How do you interact with them? Superman's expression softened, and he gestured toward the people on the sidewalks below. Interacting with the people is a big part of this job. It's about building trust and showing that I'm here to help. Sometimes a simple smile or a reassuring word can make a difference. As they flew over a park, they spotted a group of children playing. Superman's face lit up as he descended gracefully, landing in front of them. Kara followed suit, her landing slightly less grace but still effective. Hey there, little heroes in training, Superman greeted the children with a warm smile. Having a good time? The children's eyes widened in awe as they looked up at him. One of them nodded eagerly. Yeah, we're playing superheroes. Superman chuckled. That's great to hear. Remember, being a hero means looking out for one another and doing what's right. Kara watched as Superman knelt down to talk to the children, their faces lighting up with excitement. It was clear that he connected with them on a personal level, embodying the very ideals he spoke of. After a few minutes, Superman stood up and rejoined Kara. You see, Kara, it's about making a positive impact, not just when we're stopping disasters, but also in the little moments. Each interaction shapes how people see us and what we represent. As the day turned to dusk, as the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the city, Superman turned to Kara with a soft smile. Kara, do you know why I decided to teach you? To share my knowledge and experience. Kara looked at Superman, a hint of confusion visible on her face. Is it not for me to learn about the ins and outs of the job? To help you without dragging you down? Superman smiled. Yes and no, I wanted you to understand the importance of this job. To fully know what you are taking on, his gaze softened. When I first arrived on Earth, I was fortunate enough to have the guidance of my parents, the Kents. They taught me about humanity's capacity for good, about the importance of using my powers responsibly. I want to offer you the same guidance and support that I received. Superman's voice grew more passionate. But it's not just about passing down knowledge. It's about fostering a sense of unity and partnership. The world is a big place, and facing its challenges alone can be overwhelming. By working together, by sharing our strengths and learning from each other's experiences, we can create a stronger, safer world. Kara nodded, understanding the weight of his words. You want to empower me to make a positive impact. Exactly, Superman affirmed. And it's not just about stopping villains or saving the day. It's about inspiring others to take action, to stand up for justice, and to contribute to a better world in their own ways. The more heroes there are, the brighter the beacon of becomes. He turned his gaze to the city below, a sense of purpose radiating from him. And by teaching you, I am passing on that legacy of hope to you. I want you to feel prepared and capable, knowing that you have the skills and heart to face whatever challenges comes your way. Kara felt a mixture of gratitude and determination welling up within her. Thank you, Kal-El. Superman's smile was warm and reassuring. Remember, Kara, you're not alone in this journey. Just like I had mentors and friends who supported me, you'll have people who believe in you and stand by your side. As they continued to glide through the city's evening sky, side by side, Kara felt a renewed sense of purpose. She has been given an incredible opportunity, not just a new hope but to become a hope in her own right. Did you pack everything? I did. Cloths. I did. Toothbrush. I did. Your underwear? Dude, stop acting like a mama chicken. I am 21 and I know how to take care of myself. I have already packed all the necessary stuff and I can just buy them or come back if I forgot something. Okay, Mark moved back with his hand in air. Zion was sitting on the driver's seat of his new car. The Mini Cooper-looking car had a shiny black coat with golden lines connecting to from a cross on the hood. The car looked normal but attracted attention. But again, how did you get a license in a week? Mark asked. Zion grinned slightly at the question. It's easy. I just showed them how good I was and they gave me the license. Remind me not to ask you again? Mark just shook his head. Zion looked at his friend and smiled softly. Don't worry, I will be all right, Mike. You know I am stronger than before and I will visit from time to time. Mark sighed. Whatever. Okay, now let me go. We have been having this conversation on repeat for the last hour. Zion started with a press on a button and the engine roared to life. Are you not going to speak to me before you go? An elderly voice asked. Zion and Mark turned to the voice. Zion lowered his head to hide while Mark welcomed the person. Pastor, Mark called. God bless you, my child. And Zion, where are you running away without telling me? If Mark didn't inform, I wouldn't have known, the pastor said in a chiding tone. Zion turned to the pastor with a wry smile, and he looked at his close friend with a betrayed look. Mark just shrugged it off. He then turned and focused on the pastor, waiting for his trial. Now, Zion, are you going to explain yourself? The pastor asked with a stern tone as he approached the car. Zion didn't know how to explain himself. And where are your manners? Are you going to talk to me while sitting inside your car? The pastor asked, his gaze intensifying. Zion quickly got out of the car and stood with his face down before the pastor. He was like a child in front of his stern father, which was true as the pastor was a father to Zion who grew up in the orphanage. He was the one who managed the orphanage and the chapel. The pastor just looked at Zion, who just stood silently. Are you not going to answer my question? Zion didn't lift his head. I didn't know what to say. Zion then quietly waited for the chiding from the pastor for his unreasonable answer. But what he got was a hand on his shoulder. Zion, I know that it hurts you to leave your home and say a goodbye, even thought it is only temporary, the pastor said, his tone warm. Zion lifted his head and saw the smile on the pastor's face. Every father understands their child, more than they let on. I know how kind you are and how much you love those around you, but you don't want to share your pain with others. That's why you only have one friend after all these years. Zion felt the subtle jab from the pastor. The pastor smiled. But you can't leave without saying your goodbyes to your father. I understand. Okay, now get lost. You? Zion asked in confusion. The pastor looked at the confused Zion, with a stern look. Mark was dying trying to hold back his laughter. What's with that stupid look? Do you want to keep relying on your friend and be idle for the rest of your life? Now that you decided to leave, get lost before you change your mind. The pastor chided. Zion lowered his head while scratching his head and tried to save himself. I did work, pastor. Oh. The pastor's gaze intensified. Everyone in Heavenfield know how you laze around at your work and it is Mark who does your work. Zion's head sunk into his body. He knew it was true. He normally lays around at work. Pastor, let's send him before he embarrass himself more, Mark said intervening. But Zion didn't feel grateful as he could feel that his friend was using this change to get at him and was enjoying this a bit too much. The pastor turned to Mike. Don't try to cover for him, Mark. It is your kindness that spoiled this brat. Pastor, please stop scolding him. If you continue, Zion might lose the enthusiasm to leave, Mark intervened. The pastor looked at Mark and then at Zion. Okay, you can leave. With the permission received, Zion slowly got into his car and locked the door. He turned and gave Mark a final look that could kill a person. He then turned to the pastor. I will be leaving now, Dad. With those words, he smashed the accelerated and blitz off with a smoke trail. What do you know? He finally said it, Mark said as he stood next to the pastor. The pastor just hummed. Mark looked at the pastor and didn't miss the small smile on his lips. Zion, all for the years he was adopted by the pastor, never called him dad or anything for that matter. He just crashed in Mark's house all the time. He will be okay, pastor. Mark turned and left. The pastor stood there for a minute, looking at the shrinking shadow of the car. He just smiled warmly. May God be with you, my son. Zion looked at the review mirror. He could see the figures of his friend and pastor turn into a dot. His gaze lingered on mirror for a moment before he turned to the road. He knew that he had to leave and protect this godforsaken planet. He looked at the Omnitrix on his hand, which just looked like a normal stylized watch. The watch was his nuclear deterrence, one of the most powerful devices that literally had a DNA of a celestialsapian. That transformation was just too overpowered that Ben locked it up and only used it when it was absolutely necessary. But Zion had no thought of using that alien to create a peaceful world. He will do it with his own hand, it the most efficient way without making the heroes of this world too weak. Tennyson, huh? I can't believe that I have the same surname. Then is the pastor some intergalactic police officer? No way, right? Zion mumbled to himself, trailing off the subject. But he hit himself on the head and brought his attention back to the road. Time for the adventure to begin. Zion grinned as he increased the speed of his car. Chapter 4. Preparations for the future. I am just a human after all. I am just a human after all. Don't put your blame on me. Don't put your blame on me. Zion hummed as he opened the door to his new house. He had found a place to rent within the neighborhood known as Central Haven. The streets were a maze of brownstone houses, each with a story to tell. Ivy-clad facades and wrought iron fences gave the area a timeless, almost magical ambience. As he pushed open the creaky wooden door, the scent of fresh paint and the warmth of a cozy interior enveloped him. The small room, illuminated by the soft glow of the single window, was just enough to meet Zion's needs. A modest bed sat against one wall, covered in simple linens. A desk occupied another corner, the perfect spot for his laptop and a stack of books. He moved closer to the window, gazing out at the cityscape beyond. Keystone City was known for its towering skyscrapers and modern infrastructure, but also retained pockets of historical significance. The distant hum of traffic and the occasional flash of red and yellow lightning in the sky reminded him that Keystone was no ordinary place. It was the city of speedsters, where time itself seemed to race, in contrast to Central Haven, which offered a serene retreat. Zion unpacked his belongings, arranging them thoughtfully within the compact space. A bulky laptop that looked patched up, probably due to the multiple times it was repaired, a fountain pen, and a diary were placed on the desk, with his clothes kept in a suitcase pushed under the bed. Zion didn't even bother cleaning, as the room looked well kept. He was just lazy. Zion looked at his room one more time to check if everything was in place before he sat at his desk, opening his laptop. The screen lit up for a moment, and many lines of code ran through before the computer revealed its desktop. The screen didn't have anything except for a solitary icon of the command prompt. Zion clicked it to open and began typing code. The screen froze for a minute before it displayed numerous news articles from various newspapers and reports. The red streak strikes again. Rescuing people from a burning building, stopping robbers and criminals before they know it. All people saw was a red streak and defeated criminals. It seems the Metropolis man in blue has another joining him. A woman with a similar costume to Superman, flying around Metropolis and stopping crimes. The Wayne Industries stock prices have increased yet again. After the return of billionaire Bruce Wayne, Wayne Industries has made more profits than ever, and it continues to grow to this day. A bat symbol lit up the skies of Gotham yesterday. The police seem to have asked for help from Gotham's vigilante. A masked vigilante terrorizes Star City. Many criminals have been left with broken bones and in some cases, dead. The number of these masked vigilantes and vigilantism has increased across the country. Police haven't found anything about these masked individuals. The government has announced plans to intensify their investigations. Seems like they are still scattered. They are not together, not strong enough to face the dangers of the galaxies. Zion rubbed his chin in contemplation. How should I accelerate their growth? I don't really want to be a goody two-shoes and defeat all their villains, as it would just hinder their development. But that doesn't mean I can't deal with characters that are just bothersome, like the Joker. I could eliminate him as he is just a waste of space and not really helpful in developing Batman's character. While lost in thought, Zion looked out the window. Dusk had arrived, and the red sky loomed over the neon-lit city. His eyes lost focus for a moment. His right hand moved to the diary next to the laptop. The silver tip of the fountain pen touched the white paper, staining it with its ink. Zion's hand moved in a smooth motion, drafting plans for the future and the things that would help him strengthen the Justice League so they wouldn't be vulnerable to threats. The paper read, Own Guardians, ancient beings who oversee the Green Lantern Corporation, possessors of immense knowledge. Creators of the Lantern Rings. Abilities include rewriting reality and manipulating time. I wonder if I will be able to create the Lantern Rings if I transform into one of them, Zion mused. If I could create an army of lanterns to fight for my cause. But for now, it is just a thought to ponder about. The Reach, one of the oldest races in the universe. An advanced civilization that surpasses Earth's by many millennia. A race of world conquerors. Creators of the Scarabs, a world-ending machine. In a peace treaty with Green Lanterns. Zion looked at his left hand, where the Omnitrix resided. Omnitrix was a level 20 tech. But the Reach was only on level 14, where their armor can integrate into their host on a cellular level. They are still far from even creating something like a broken version of Nemetrix. But they could produce a perfect clone. If they learn about the Omnitrix, Zion shivered slightly. I don't want to deal with all the invasion from all the greedy races of the universe. That would be a pain. It would be simple to just erase them from existence with Alien X than fight them all the time. But a Celestialcipian would attract far more trouble than all the races hunting me down. Zion shook his head to rid himself of bad thoughts. He didn't want Murphy to act. Now that I think about cloning, Superboy has not been born yet. I should not let Luthor learn about the Omnitrix. If he learns, he will try to get it at all costs, which might cause some adverse effects than intended. And he is a bit of a brainiac for me to deal with. Superman can have his dance with his bald friend. The new gods, cosmic entities with immense strength, longevity, cosmic awareness, and advanced technology. They possess the mother boxes and father box, supercomputers storing immeasurable data that can use boom tubes. These three races of the universe were well versed in highly advanced tech and possessors of potent DNA. The new gods and own guardians' DNA would make a fine addition to the Omnitrix, while the research data from the Reach would help me create more powerful tech, especially the Scarab armor. I don't want to go through the hassle of finding the Scarab, especially since Blue Beetle hasn't even been born yet. Zion spun the pen in his hands as he wrestled with the idea of leaving the planet to find these 3 races to obtain their tech. However, the problem was, he didn't have a spaceship. It would take an astronomical amount of time and resources to build one from scratch. A ship with a strong enough frame to withstand constant changes in gravitational pull, a functional navigation system to cross galaxies, supplies to last until I reach another suitable planet, and the materials needed to build one. And don't even start with a warp engine. I can't do this alone. I should introduce myself to the heroes before I leave. I need to at least stay until the formation of the League. I can get help from Batman and Cyborg to build the spaceship and acquire the warp drive from Superman's ship. Zion confirmed his plan, at least for the time being. A plan is never complete. A solid plan is a flexible one. A man should always adapt to the situations. Now, what should I do in the meantime? Zion pondered. He had only $2,000 left after covering all his expenses and rent for the room, which was cheap. So now that he was in the city, he needed to find a stable job to keep himself fed. Should I steal from or ask Batman for some money? I am pretty sure I could convince him with an advanced armor that will increase the efficiency of his vigilantism. But I don't want to deal with his paranoia. He would create contingency upon contingency to take me down, and I don't want him on my back, watching my every move. No bats then. Maybe I should just get some money by hacking into Luthor's bank account. That would be effective. But I don't like dealing with him, even though he would never find out who stole it. With brainstorm skills, it would be as easy as breathing air. How about Arrow? I could become his guy in the chair and earn money. But he is going through his growth phase. I don't want to disturb him by revealing I know his identity. Should I become a reporter? I mean, I could do it, but writing articles will be a hassle, and it is already being used by many to hide their identity. Maybe I should become a crazy driver like in the movies. The fastest taxi to take you to heaven and back. I kinda like the sound of that. Like Jackie Chan from the Tuxedo. It might actually work, with my car already having a 1,000 horsepower engine. Okay. Job decided. Now on to the second objective. What DNA could I collect from Earth before leaving? Diana's demigod DNA might be difficult to obtain, and I don't like the fake gods. Martian Manhunter is not on Earth yet, and Thanagarians are not that powerful. So, my first choice is the strongest hero on Earth. The last son of Krypton. Zion finally decided what to do after meticulous calculations. The conversation above only contained the important part of Zion's inner monologue, as 75% was removed due to his ramblings. Then let's get to Metropolis and collect some juicy Kryptonian DNA. With it, I could gain some serious firepower without exposing myself by transforming into something that doesn't exist in this universe. Zion closed the laptop and the diary. Carrying both in his hand, he quickly left the room. His car was waiting for him under the glowing moonlight in the parking lot. Zion placed both objects on the passenger seat and started the car. To Metropolis. In the depths of the Batcave, Batman sat before an array of screens, his gloved fingers swiftly navigating through databases and surveillance feeds. He had just stumbled upon something intriguing yet dangerous. A sighting of another flying superhuman in Metropolis. However, he didn't have enough information to confirm her identity or intentions. All he knew was that she was with Metropolis Superman. Alfred's voice crackled through the intercom. Sir, it seems you've come across something unusual. Batman's eyes remained fixed on the screen as he responded. Yes, Alfred. There is a report that another flying superhuman was with Superman. The sighting was just yesterday when they both stopped crimes. I am using facial recognition, tracing for any extraterrestrial impact in the past few days or a mass destruction of any metahuman experiment facility. But I don't have a possible ID or connections yet. Alfred, being the best butler he was, replied. Shall I initiate a more thorough investigation, Master Wayne? Yes, Alfred. I want to know who she is, what her capabilities are, and if she will be a threat that needs to be put down. Batman's cold voice echoed through the comms. Very well, sir. I'll begin digging deeper into the Metropolis sightings and try to ascertain her identity discreetly. Batman knew that with Alfred's expertise and resources, he could count on a comprehensive investigation. He returned his focus to the screen, where there was a poor image of Superman and Kara interacting with a kid. His eyes narrowed, a slight conflict in his mind. He knew his limits as a human, and with the rise of many superpowered villains, he would eventually face his defeat. But the Dark Knight was not one to back down from challenges. With his meticulous preparations and high intellect, he could even take down the strongest of foes. Batman got up from his contemplation and walked to the Batmobile. It was time for his patrol. He needed to keep the streets of Gotham safe. Chapter 5. Kara saves the day. The sun hung high in the sky, casting a warm golden glow over the bustling city below. Kara Zor-El, yet to be dubbed as Supergirl, floated above the busy city, her senses expanded, listening for any help needed. Her whole body bathing in Soul's warmth, increasing her already strong physique. Today, she was on Petrol alone, without Clark, without Superman. He had trusted her to protect the city for today. Down below, a busy intersection bustled with cars, pedestrians, and the usual chaos of urban life. Drivers were impatiently honked their horns, and the crosswalks were filled with people rushing to their destinations. In the midst of this chaotic scene, a sudden screech of tires and a cacophony of alarmed shouts signaled a danger, attracting Kara's attention. A car rushed thought the street, its driver struggling to regain control. The woman behind the wheel, panic etched across her face, slammed on the brakes, but the car didn't respond. Its tires screeched against the pavement as it continued to hurtle forward, seemingly out of control. Pedestrians scattered, and nearby drivers braced for impact. Help! Somebody please help! The panicked driver screamed. Seeing that her help was needed, Kara moved with lightning speed, creating a sonic boom as she descended. She beelined toward the car's side, her hand firmly gripping the front bumper of the car. She strained against its momentum, her boots digging furrows into the asphalt. With her incredible strength, Kara slowly brought the reeling vehicle to a halt. The wheels finally ceased their frantic spinning, and the women inside the car, trembling with fear, could hardly believe her eyes. She noticed the S on the person who saved her. "Thank you, Super Dash." But she stopped as she noticed that it was not Superman but a young girl wearing dress similar to Superman. Passers-by had gathered, their faces filled with awe and relief. The crisis had been averted, thanks to their new hero. They didn't know who she was, but they could clearly see that she wore the same costume as Superman, so she has to be a hero. Snapping out of her stupor, the women staggered out of the car. "Thank you," she said, her face filled with gratitude. But Kara wasn't focused on her. Few minutes into the past, in the shadowy alley across the street, a group of masked criminals, armed with high-tech weapons and determination, gathered around a black van. Their leader, a ruthless figure known as the Masked Marauder, outlined their plan with a cold, calculated precision. "Remember, we have one shot at this. Once we're inside, it is all about speed and intimidation. We'll be in and out before anyone can notice us." The gang nodded in agreement as they geared up with their newly purchased high-tech weaponry to launch their audacious heist. Inside the bank, oblivious to the impending threat, costumers queued at the counters, and bank employees went about their daily tasks. Suddenly, the bank's entrance exploded in a shower of glasses and debris. The gang stormed in, guns blazing, and the bank erupted into chaos. "Everybody down. This is a robbery. Nobody move, and nobody gets hurt." Panic spread through the bank as some dove to take cover while some dropped to the ground, trembling. The robbers moved with calculated precision, securing control of the bank and ensuring that no one dared to intervene. Bank guards, armed with only courage and determination, found themselves outmatched and outgunned. The hostages, a mix of bank employees and customers, lay prone on the polished floor, their hearts racing with fear. The Marauders' gang members fanned out, their weapons at the ready while placing explosives around the hostages. Old women griped the shaking hands of a young girl and assured, "Stay strong, we'll get through this. We have Superman to save us." The girl nodded in reply. With the bank's interior plunged into chaos and the robbers now in control, the audacious heist had begun, leaving the fate of the bank and its occupants hanging on balance. Kara took flight without a word, her speed and action shocking the people. But Kara wasn't Superman to wait and explain. Kara only moved a block away from the accident. She hovered above the Metropolis National Bank, which was in turmoil. Her X-ray vision showed her what was happening inside the bank and her super hearing allowing her to hear everything. "Everyone down on the ground. This is a robbery. Hurry it up, or things will get messy. Don't think of acting heroes. Stay still if you don't want to die." She saw the hostages laying on the marble floor, trembling with fear. The robbers fanned out around the hostages, placing what looked to be explosives around the hostages. One of the robbers was forcing a bank employee to open the vault, while a man who looked like the leader gave orders to the robbers. He was wearing red suit and a hat, his face covered by black mask. Kara, seeing that she would need to intervene, descended from the sky like a comet. Boom! Boom! As the tension inside the bank reached its peak, a sudden crash shattered the panicked silence. Dust and debris rained down, creating the cloud of dust that enveloped the startled robbers. The hostages panicked even more as the cloud also obscured vision. What's happening?" asked someone, his words stuttering. The sound of bank ceiling burst open alerted the robbers of the unwanted presence. The masked marauder turned to confront the hero that arrived, but the dust cloud obscured his vision. But he got his answer soon enough as two red glowing eyes showed themselves. The robbers immediately pointed their weapons at the glowing eyes, clearly nervous due to the person that arrived. The only relatively calm one was the masked marauder. He lifted his hands, showing the detonator in his death grip, his thumb hovering over the button that could unleash destruction. Masked marauder smiled menacingly as he knew that Superman would never put civilians' lives in danger. "Back off, Superman, or this whole place goes up in smoke." Marauder's voice echoed off the bank's silent interior, but the response he wanted never came. All he got was the red eyes staring at him, seemingly prying at his soul. The bank's interior was filled with tense anticipation as the standoff continued. Kara's keen eyes scanned the room, and she noticed the fear etched on the faces of the hostages, their lives hanging in the hands of this robber. But when Kara decided to not follow with aggression, wind blew through the broken entrance, clearing the dust that obscured their vision. With the dust cleared, the robbers clearly say who it was they were facing. You are not Superman." Masked Marauder was confused by this revelation, so were his gang. That slight opening was the biggest mistake the Masked Marauder made that day as Kara's heat vision cut through his hand, separating his wrist from his arm. Then with a swift motion of her eyes, she destroyed the detonator. A gasp of shock spread through the bank as Masked Marauder looked at his severed hand, his face twisting with agony and anger. "What are you waiting for? Kill her!" he roared like a wounded beast. The robbers, snapping out of their shock, pulled the trigger. The blasted glowed with power as they shot energy blast at Kara, but she moved with lightning speed, dodging the projectiles effortlessly. "Surrender or I won't show mercy," Kara warned, her eyes glowing. The robbers didn't heed her warning, knowing that they were already at the deep end. Kara looked at the robbers shooting frantically at her, some of the energy bolts nearly grazing the hostages. Seeing that the situation couldn't continue, Kara lunged forward, her speed on full display as she disarmed the bank robbers one by one. She moved so quickly that they barely had time to react. With each swift motion, she destroyed their weapons and broke their bones. As the last of criminals found themselves immobilized, the bank's employees and customers looked on with awe and relief, but there was a hint of fear in their eyes as they saw the crushed arms of the robbers. Kara scanned them all for any injuries, not noticing their fears. They won't harm you anymore, Kara tried to comfort them. But she was clearly not the best in it yet. Kara then rounded up the robbers for the police. Masked Marauder had his left leg broken to keep him from running. With all of them in place, clearly not tied up due to their broken state, Kara waited until the authorities to arrive before flying off to her patrol. Why did I even get all excited to come to Metropolis? Zion groaned as he tried to keep his eyes open. He was slouched on a table, distressfully drinking coffee to jumpstart his brain. Zion was facing the backlash of acting without thinking. He had rushed to Metropolis without clearly thinking of the time he would arrive at the city, in the middle of the night. Even the city of tomorrow was asleep when he strode in, causing him to wait the whole night in his car for the sun to shine. Without enough sleep throughout night, Zion was feeling groggy, so he moved into the coffee shop as its first customer and stayed there until he felt like moving again. He was trying to think of ways to get close to Superman, enough for him to scan his DNA, yet his mind keeps wandering to other subjects that were not relevant at all. He had created a clear blueprint to make a walking microwave which is used as a walking microwave, for microwaving food anywhere and any time. And this was just one of his ideas. What should I do to meet Superman? Zion wondered out loud. I can't clearly catch the guy flying around, or should I blow shit up to attract his attention? I am pretty sure he would not roast me with his heat vision the moment he sees me. He would probably talk to me first. Excuse me, you want to meet Superman? A curious feminine voice asked. Startled, Zion turned to the voice, noticing beautiful women standing behind him. She had her black hair tied in a ponytail, her brown eyes looking at him curiously. She was wearing a white shirt with a back jeans, her dress complementing slender physique. Zion met her gaze with a bit of surprise. He knew who it was. Well, I just wanted to meet the big guy, you know, the Superman. I wanted to ask why he does what he does, maybe have a full-on conversation on how to improve the world for the better. The women smiled at his answer. That's a noble aspiration. Superman's a remarkable figure. If you are looking to connect with him, you might want to consider reaching out through the Daily Planet. I could help you with that. Zion showed a shocked expression. That would be incredible. Thank you, Ms. Lane. It was incredibly stupid of me. Zion facepalmed in his mind. I could have just met him at Daily Planet. That would have saved so much of my time. Lois Lane smiled at Zion's shocked expression. She had entered the coffee shop to grab her usual drink before going to her office. As she neared the counter to place her order, she couldn't help but overhear Zion mumbling about meeting Superman. Curious as she was, she decided to talk to this young man. You are welcome, let's work together to make it happen, Lois replied. Zion yawned as he mumbled. Yeah, that sound cool. Lois noticed Zion's lack of energy. Are you feeling all right there? You seem a bit tired. Yeah, just a bit tired, you know? Long night. I didn't plan my time for coming to Metropolis, casing me to get here in the dead of the night, Zion explained as he rubbed his eyes. Lois thought that Zion was too enthusiastic about meeting Superman and arrived too early. Well, if you really need a pick-me-up, a good cup of coffee would do wonders. Zion gave a appreciative nod. I already had 2 of those, Ms. Lane. I just need time to reboot. Lois smiled at his answer. Take care of yourself, and don't hesitate to reach out if you want to meet Superman. He's a great guy to talk to. I will, Ms. Lane. I will, Zion gave her a warm smile. Chapter 6. Meeting Superman. Zion exchanged contact with Lois Lane just before she left, leaving her with a playful remark. Call me, if you want a driver fast enough to take you to heaven and back. Lois responded with a smile, saying that she will. Zion was still in the coffee shop. He had now found his way to meet Superman, without causing a ruckus to attract his attention, which is easy as it can get. He could have simply turned into one of the million alien and strolled the street. It would attract enough attention to bring the whole of military to his doorstep, metaphorical. He just didn't want to attract too much attention to him, especially with Luthor keeping an eye on Superman. That man is one thing Zion didn't want to deal with. Not because he could not defeat him, he could turn way big and stump him to death. But because he is useful, Luthor only need to adjust his perspective on things and he will be fine. So, in total he just didn't want Luthor to go out without reaching his potential. That boldly is need for the growth of this world. With that, Zion stood up, his brain back to full capacity and ready to rumble. Just kidding. What rumbled was not his brain but his stomach. It was growling like a hungry beast. Zion stopped a random guy as he exited the coffee shop and asked, Hey mate, know where I can grab a bite to eat in this fine city of Metropolis? Zion asked with a British accent. The man provided directions, guiding him to Bibbo's diner. Thanks mate. Zion then quickly walked to his car, the Mini Cooper roaring to life. He made a drifty U-turn, earning a bunch of insults and honks. The car didn't stop nor did slow down. The car weaved between cars at lightning speed, not reducing its speed for a moment. Within a minute, Zion was before Bibbo's diner. As Zion walked into Bibbo's diner, he was greeted by the nostalgic aroma of sizzling burgers. The diner had a classic retro feel with red leather booths, chrome accents, and checkerboard floor tiles. The walls were adorned with vintage posters and framed newspaper clippings highlighting Metropolis hero, Superman. The jukebox played old rock and roll tunes in the corner, blending with the friendly chatters of the diner. The waitstaff, dressed in diner uniforms, hustled back and forth, balancing trays of delicious food. Zion took a seat at the counter, which had a view of the open kitchen where cooks flipped burgers on a griddle. The menu featured some of the most delicious array of options, from towering double cheeseburgers to stacks of pancakes drizzled with syrup. Zion couldn't help but smile. Hey there, ma'am. I'll have a classic cheeseburger, 2 spicy shawarma, extra crispy fries, and a chocolate milkshake, please. Sure thing, hon, you got it. Anything else for you? The waitress asked with a warm smile. Actually, how about you pack me your famous apple pie with a scoop of vanilla ice cream? I am meeting a friend, Zion replied as he glanced at the menu. Waitress gave him a nod. Good choices. 1 cheeseburger, 2 spicy shawarma, extra crispy fries, and a chocolate milkshake coming right up. I will pack the pie for you. Enjoy the meal. Zion enjoyed his meal, paid his bills and then left with smile tugging his lips, carrying the packed pie with him. He knew it was time to meet with Superman and he already have an appointment with Lois Lane. Zion got into his car, placed the pie carefully on the back seat, and strapped his seatbelt. That was the slowest thing he did until he got out of the car. The small car was a speeding turbo from the minute he pressed the accelerator. Arriving before the Daily Planet building, Zion parked the car perfectly with a drift, leaving tire marks on the road. He got out in a smooth motion like in those racing movies and picked up the apple pie that was unfortunate to sit in his back seat, but it managed to keep its integrity. Zion walked into the building with confident strides, carrying the pie in his hand. Entering the building, Zion was hit by the electric atmosphere of a newsroom in full swing. Reporters rushed about, phones rung incessantly, and the clatter of typewriters and computer keyboards filled the air. It was a symphony of organized chaos that only added to his excitement. He approached the reception desk where a friendly, bespectacled receptionist was engaged in a conversation with a young reporter. Zion intervened in their conversation, politely. Excuse me, I'm here to see Lois Lane. Can you please let her know I've arrived? The receptionist, momentarily startled by Zion's request, stopped speaking with the young reporter and looked at him. She saw his young appearance and then smiled warmly at the young reporter. Oh, Jimmy. Here's someone to see Lois. Jimmy Olsen turned toward Zion with a cheerful grin. Hey there, I'm Jimmy Olsen, the guy who's always up for an adventure. Lois is just over there by the editor's desk. Zion extended his hand with a friendly nod. Nice to meet you, Jimmy. I am Zion, the fastest taxi driver on this planet. Thanks for the heads up. Jimmy shook Zion's hand enthusiastically, feeling he found a kinder spirit. No problem at all, Zion. Lois is right over there, brewing up a story as always. Enjoy your chat. Zion gave Jimmy an appreciative nod before he followed Jimmy's directions. Arriving before Lois' desk, he saw her immersed in her work by the editor's desk. With a respectful and friendly demeanor, he cleared his throat to get her attention. Lois looked up from her work, a hint of surprise visible in her eyes as she looked at Zion. Zion, I didn't think that you would come so soon. Please, take the seat. Meeting Superman. Now that's the story worth sharing, don't you think? Yes, it is, Zion said with a smile. I appreciate your willingness to help me, Ms. Lane. I came to Metropolis to meet him, and I couldn't wait for a better day to talk to him. Lois' demeanor turned professional and determined. Of course, Zion. If you're looking to meet Superman, it's important to approach it in the right way. He's a busy man, but I can certainly assist in making the connection. So what's your own goal in meet him? Zion's smile turned mysterious. Ms. Lane, I won't lie to you. I come from a small town called Heavenfield. It is a close community with nothing exciting happening, at all. I came to city expecting an adventure, and I found it. Superman's battle with an alien from space to save Metropolis felt like it was straight of a comic. Zion paused, observing Lois' expression. Superman saved Metropolis. But I am no Superman, I am Guy from a small town. So, I think you understand how it feels when you look to the sky and feel that you are nothing but a dust in the grand scheme of things. Lois had contemplative look as she listened to Zion, her brain connecting the dot in the conversation to find his reason. You want to know if you could make a difference in this world. You want to ask him if you could really make a difference, even without strength to lift building or flying at super speed. Yes, Ms. Lane. Zion kept his slight smile. Lois nodded in understanding. After all, when you see a man lift building that could crush you, stop bullets with his bare skin, move farther than a speeding bullet and fly to space, you tend to feel dejected, disheartened, feeling too small to make a change. I understand your problem and I am sure many are dealing with the same things, but in many different ways. I believe your sincerity will resonate with him. I'll see what I can do to arrange a meeting or interview. Just remember, Superman's schedule can be unpredictable, but we'll do our best. No need to book a schedule, Ms. Lane. We can meet him today, here in Daily Planet, Zion said as he got up. What? Lois got up in shock. Zion just pointed up before he began walking. Superman stood before Kara, his eyes filled with a mix of anger and concern as he confronted her about her recent actions during the bank robbery. The bank alarm still blared in the background, echoing the chose that had just unfolded. Kara, Superman's voice was stern, his cape rustling with his intensity. I can't believe what I just saw. I let you do the patrol today alone, because I thought you were ready or at least you were capable to do so. Cutting off the leader's hand and breaking the henchman's bones? That's not how we operate. You didn't see the fear in the eyes of the hostage's eyes, Clark. They didn't even know if they will live to see a new day. Kara clenched her fists, her blue eyes locking onto his with determination. They were going to hurt those people, Clark. What would you have done? Superman's jaw tightened, struggling to find the right words to convey the gravity of the situation. There's always a better way, Kara. We can't stoop to their level. We have to find a balance between protecting and inspiring hope. If we act like those that we put behind bars, what difference would we make? People will only be fearful of us. Kara's anger began to wane, replaced by a sense of guilt and uncertainty. She knew her actions had consequences, and her cousin's words weighed heavily on her. I just wanted to save them. The fear in their eyes, it was just like mine when I was imprisoned. I had to stop them. Superman's expression softened, realizing the internal struggle Kara was going through. He placed a hand on her shoulder, his voice gentler now. I know, Kara. We both want to make a difference, but we can't lose sight of what makes us heroes. We have to be better. Kara nodded. She knew that she had to learn from this incident, to find a way to balance her desire to protect with the responsibility that came with her powers. With a heavy heart she said, I'll do better, Clark. Superman gave her a reassuring smile, hoping that this argument had been a turning point for his cousin. It's okay, Kara. I just want you to learn from this incident. Now, it seems like I am needed. We will talk about this at home, Superman said as he flew away. Just one of my stupid ideas, sir. I am writing it to make it up for the word count. Deep within the dense and sprawling forest, the verdant canopy above filtered the sunlight into dappled patches on the forest floor, creating a vibrant mosaic of shadows and light. It was here, amidst the rustling leaves and the distant chirping of birds, that Naruto decided to take a break from his rigorous training and enjoy some carefree playtime. Naruto was deep within the forest, lost in the joy of playing. As he darted through the tree, leaping from one branch to another, his laughter echoing through the woods. Naruto reveled in these solitary moments, far from the hate and blaming gazes. Unbeknownst to him, the forest held a surprise that would shatter the tranquility of his playful escapade. In his exuberance, Naruto failed to notice a hidden figure standing in his path, partially obscured by the thick foliage. With a sudden and unexpected collision, Naruto was spent sprawling to the forest floor. Naruto, momentarily stunned by the impact, blinked at the man who had appeared out of nowhere. Who are you, old man? The stranger appeared to be in his early 30s. His eyes bore an enigmatic intensity, and his rugged appearance hinted at a life filled with adventure and mysteries. He jumped and dusted off his clothes before fixing his gaze squarely on Naruto. In a voice that carried a weight of conviction, Zor-El said, Naruto, I am your father. Chapter 7. Meeting Superman number 2, Superman. Superman. It's Lois Lane. Can we meet? Will doing this really attract him? It just feels stupid to keep shouting for him on top of the Daily Planet, Jimmy asked Zion. Zion gave him a wide grin. It is stupid, but I works, you know. They both turned to Lois, who was shouting Superman for them. They were on top floor of the Daily Planet's towering skyscraper, standing just below the iconic giant globe. They had come up to meet Superman, and Jimmy was dragged by Lois to take pictures of this meeting. Lois wanted the meeting to be life-changing for many who would read it. Jimmy laughed. I knew I would like you. I don't think he is coming. Probably busy saving the world somewhere. Lois said as she walked to them. I wouldn't be so sure, Ms. Lane. Zion smiled mysteriously as he looked behind her. A gust of wind rustled through, a precursor to the arrival of the legend. Suddenly, a figure clad in the iconic red and blue suit appeared in the sky above Daily Planet skyscraper. Lois turned, her eyes widen in surprise. Superman. Superman, with his chiseled jaw and piercing blue eyes, radiated an aura of strength and humility. He descended gracefully before Lois with a warm smile that immediately put everyone at ease. You called Ms. Lane, Superman said. Wow. A shocked gasp intervened. Zion was looking at Superman with an amazed expression. The legend in the flesh. The Man of Steel. Wow, just wow. You are? Superman asked with a warm smile. Lois just chuckled at Zion's antics. This is Zion, from a town called Heavenfield. I met him at the coffee shop today and heard his request to converse with you on an important matter. Superman was listening to Lois as he looked at Zion, shaking Jimmy and pointing at him. Zion then brisked and appeared next to Superman. Zion cleared his throat and suppressed his excitement. Nice to meet you. I am Zion. I came to talk with you about world peace. Superman turned to Lois with a confused expression. Lois just put a hand on Zion's shoulders to calm him. I think he is just excited. He came here to ask you that if he could really make a difference. Even if he doesn't have super strength or superpowers, and I thought this conversation might really help many others, not just Zion. Lois explained her reason. The question Zion had was not only a question he struggled with but also those of many. They were many ordinary people out in the world, feeling inferior. They want to make a change but they are disheartened because they don't have anything special about them, like superpowers. I understand, Ms. Lane. Superman then looked at Zion, his warm smile never fading. Zion, I understand how you feel, but the power to make a difference doesn't always come from superhuman ability. A new life form DNA analyzed. Acquisition complete. Zion lifted his left hand where Omnitrix resided. He now knew that the Kryptonian DNA was acquired. But the problem was, it was in #wrong timing. A new life form DNA analyzed. Acquisition complete. Superman clearly heard it, even without his super hearing. Superman, despite his warm and welcoming demeanor, couldn't help but feel a flicker of suspicion. The watch just said that it had acquired his DNA, and from all he knew, it was bad. He had encountered various types of technology in his years as a hero. Heck, his ship had all of Krypton's knowledge. Seeing Zion look at his watch, Superman became alert. He moved in front of Lois to protect her if things went out of hand. He then tired to see through the watch with his X-ray vision, only to be disappointed. Since he didn't know what it was, he has to confront it with Zion. Zion, what is that watch of yours? Superman asked. Guarded. Zion lifted both his hands in surrender. I know what it looks like, but I mean no harm. Then I hope you will explain what your watch said about acquiring my DNA, Superman asked, a bit relaxed. Well, I think it's better to show you. As the suspicion hung in the air, Zion decided to show it to them. After all, seeing is believing. Zion touched the faceplate of the Omnitrix. A golden holographic disc appeared with many different faces in a linear style. With his alien selected, the faceplate of the watch moved up, ejecting the core. Zion pressed it fast yet gently. He knew that if he pressed the core too hard, he would change into something different. In a flash of bright golden light, Zion vanished. Lois and Jimmy looked around to find him, not knowing where he went. I am here, people, a tiny high-pitched voice called. Lois and Jimmy looked to the voice, but no one was present. Look down, the voice said again. They looked down, only to meet the big green eyes of a gray-skinned alien with a large head relative to his body size. He had 4 fringed hands, and stood about 7 inches tall. The alien then casually strode and hopped on the concrete guardrails, elevating his standing relative to his small size. Superman, I assure you, I mean no harm. That's why I turned into a form that you will not feel threatened, Zion assured with his tiny form. You are an alien? Lois asked. No, I am human. I have just transformed into an alien. This form is of Galvan, an amphibious, insectivorous species form planet Galvan Prime. They are an intelligent species. You have no idea how it feels when I transform into one of them. The world becomes so obsolete. It's like it had lost all its color, leaving only gray matter, Zion replied, his voice melancholy. How did you transform? Not only your outer but even your innards has changed. You were clearly human before, Superman asked. It's the Omnitrix, the watch I was wearing. It's a device made by the first thinker, Azimuth, leader of Galvans. The Omnitrix is an advanced technology that rewrites my genetic code, allowing me to transform into any alien I select. It already has 1 million species stored in it. Zion explained. 1 million. Jimmy gasped. Yes, 1 million. Each of them with their unique characteristics and culture, Zion answered. Omnitrix was made to create peace between different races by experiencing what it feel like to be them, to live as one of them. Not only that, but to be an ark that would carry on the legacy of those spices, if they ever went extinct. A noble goal of creating peace between the races of this universe. That's a heavy burden to carry, Lois said as he looked at Zion's small form. I know, but it also makes the Omnitrix a powerful weapon of destruction. It has the power to end civilizations. Zion transformed back to normal, his dark hair rustling in the wind. I came to ask you, why you do what you do when you have all the power in the world to bring it down? Zion turned to Superman. Superman clearly saw the trouble in Zion's eyes. A kid with a world-ending power in his hands, while not knowing what to do with it. He had come to the one person who could relate. Superman walked next to Zion and took a seat at the guardrails. I understand your burden, Zion. You are struggling to find the correct path. You have the power, but the power to make a difference doesn't always come from superhuman abilities. It comes from the choices you make, the values you uphold, and the determination to do what's right. Even without extraordinary strength, you can still inspire change, shed light on important issues, and make the world a better place. Thank you, Superman. Zion was genuinely grateful. It seems like everything is okay, a feminine voice said. All 4 of them turned to look at the new arrival. A young woman wearing a similar dress to Superman's iconic red and blue suit. Wow, it's the Supergirl, Jimmy gasped. MS, Lane, Zion and Jimmy. This is my cousin Kara. Kara, this is Ms. Lane, reporter in Daily Planet. This is Jimmy, photojournalist in Daily Planet. And Zion, a new hero. Superman gave a warm smile toward Zion to assure him. Nice to meet you, Kara. Lois extended her hand. Can I take a photo? Jimmy asked, captivated by the female version of Superman. Kara shook Lois' hand and accepted Jimmy's request if her face isn't visible in the photo. She then turned to see Zion. Her interest in him was piqued after he said his watch is an ark that is used to carry the lineage of extinct species. That means she could bring Krypton back, sometime in the future. Zion just looked at her blankly, his eyes not moving from her. You look beautiful, Miss Kara. Would you honor me with your company at the evening repast? Zion gave a courteous bow as he asked Kara out. Kara just tilted her head in confusion. She may speak English, but she doesn't have the whole vocabulary. She learned English by observing those that imprisoned her. He is asking you out on a dinner, Lois helped. Will it be okay? Zion asked. I think it should be fine, but I want you to show me what your watch can do. Kara demanded. She wanted to learn what Zion's what could do. That's it. Zion was happy. Zion quickly operated the Omnitrix, and searched for the new form he had acquired. A face similar to his appeared in the holographic disc. Zion selected his new Kryptonian form. Then with a flash of golden light Zion changed. But there was no change, confusing others. However, moment later, Zion's black t-shirt and blue jeans started to warp and transform into a suit similar to what Superman was wearing. Zion grew a bit in height, his jawline sharpened, his muscles become bigger and compressed. Zion now looked more handsome. He was average in human standards before. Now he was average in Kryptonian standards. Just kidding around. Zion closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He could feel the strength flowing through his vessel. He could feel his cells greedily absorb sunlight, strengthening themselves. His senses were sharpening. He could hear a conversation miles away. His eye heated up to emit heat vision. Zion opened his eyes and breathed out, controlling the stream of power. He looked at others. He was flying, levitating about the skyscraper. The feeling of getting stronger with every passing second was euphoric. Zion clenched his hand, feeling the power stored in them. This is how you feel in the yellow sun? This is addicting, Zion said as he checked himself out. The suit was similar to Superman, black bodysuit with dark blue cape, with a silver outline of hourglass in his chest. The Omnitrix was situated below the navel, not in the chest. Probably due to fact that Superman gets shot in the chest most of the time. Nope, the Omnitrix just took the form similar to Superman's belt. Zion landed next to Superman. I can feel the strength flowing through me like a tidal wave. I still can't believe this is how you feel all the time. I understand what you are feeling but don't be consumed by it, Superman advised. Yes, sir. Zion gave salute. And I am out. Zion lightly jumped up and levitated himself in the air for a moment before flying off toward the space. His movements were fluid and natural like he was born Kryptonian. Omnitrix has a morph matrix that allow the user to gain full control of their new form. So, Zion was like any other Krypton-born Kryptonian. Chapter 8. Time out. Whoa. Zion screamed as he soared high into the sky, leaving the Earth's surface behind as he ascended the sky. His heart raced with excitement and anticipation. With each passing moment, the world below seemed to shrink, its vastness becoming more apparent. The air grew thinner, and the sky darkened around Zion as he pushed higher into the atmosphere. As Zion reached the edge of the mesosphere, he paused, suspended in the thin air, feeling the weightlessness that came with this altitude. He turned his gaze downward, and the curvature of the Earth came into full view. The vibrant blue and white of the planet's surface contrasted with the deep black of space, creating a breathtaking spectacle. How peaceful, Zion muttered, surrounded by the cosmic silence. He could still feel the growing strength of his new body. It was like a battery that could infinitely charge, never reaching its limit. But the question was what will happen when he changes back? Will he just lose the stellar energy stored in his Kryptonian form and would he need to absorb the stellar energy again? Will he go supernova? Or will his strengthened body just be restored after he transforms again? If I need to absorb the stellar energy to refill myself again, I can't change into a Kryptonian at night. Think of Superman who could only works in the morning. Now that's hilarious. Kryptonian's form feels like it runs on solar power. Ha ha ha. And don't forget that Omnitrix stores DNA of creatures. Zion gains their natural-born abilities like absorbing solar power, but not arguments abilities like strength that is produced from solar energy. Comment if I am wrong. Zion sighed as he didn't know. This is going to be a trouble. Maybe I should just build an armor to counter that problem. I would need to create a miniature yellow sun and contain it inside the suit without causing a singularity that would wipe this Earth. Zion unconsciously stopped levitating himself as he fully concentrating on building the armor. Zion began his descent, gravity pulling him faster and faster. The world rushed to meet him, and the sensation would have been exhilarating if not for him lost in thought. Zion's cape billowed in the rushing wind as he cut through the atmosphere. As he descended, the world around him transitioned into silent emptiness of space to the roaring tumult of the lower atmosphere. The air resistance generating a fiery aura around him, a testament to the sheer speed of his descent. Zion's brain worked at hyperspeed, outlining the armor's design. To create this suit, Zion mused, I will need to tap into Kryptonian knowledge and combine it with Earth's cutting-edge technology. The miniature sun at the core will be a fusion of Kryptonian crystal and Earth's advanced tech. The miniature sun will not only strengthen my Kryptonian form but also increase the strength and defense of my other forms. With the Earth's surface drawing closer, Zion continued, the armor itself should be a seamless blend of durability and flexibility. A nanotech alloy will allow it to adapt to my movements effortlessly, while still providing superior protection against any threat. Beep, 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 beep. Zion was snapped out of his thought as the beeping sound of Omnitrix increased in frequency. Zion didn't panic, and slowed down the speed of his falling so he doesn't go splat. With a flash of golden light, Zion transformed back. Zion spread his hands, creating much drag as he could. He lifted his watch, ready to transform, only to be hit with a timeout. Well, Superman. Save me. I am out of charge. Zion shouted like a damsel in distress. Zion was plummeting to the ground with increased speed. He knew that he would not die due to Omnitrix's safety mechanism, but that doesn't mean that he was not scared shitless seeing the hard, solid Earth approaching at high speed. Ah! I am dead! Zion shouted. Can you stop screaming? A soft feminine voice said next to him. Zion's head snapped to the side, his face brightening. Kara! Kara watched as Zion took flight towards the infinite cosmos. Zion had instantly controlled the overflowing energy, showing the mastery over his body. She could see that Zion had no trouble controlling his newfound powers as he soared thought the sky. Well, he seems to be in control, Superman remarked with slight surprise. What do you mean? Lois asked, curious to learn more about Superman and his adventures. Well, when I first learned of my powers as a child, let's just say it was not a good experience. Learning that you are different from everyone was a bit shocking and frightening. I could lift things without meaning to, or I'd accidentally run faster than the wind. I nearly destroyed our farm with my heat vision, Superman reminisced. A small smile formed on his lips. It was then my parents told me about my arrival to Earth. I still remember my mother telling stories about me lifting my father's car when I was just 3 years old. They taught me everything, instilled in me the importance of responsibility and using my powers for good. Me too. I blew my ship being unable to control my heat vision. Kara thought back to her arrival to Earth. It was not a pleasantest experience. She crash-landed on Earth and crawling out of the wreckage, everything was so strange and different. The yellow sun gave her strength but it only confused her even more. Then things took a dark turn, being captured by some secret organization and being imprisoned in a cold dark cell. Seems like being strong comes with its troubles, Jimmy remarked. I does. Being all-powerful comes with its responsibility, Superman affirmed. Kara looked at Zion, who was falling back to Earth. His posture suggesting that he was definitely not flying back. He was falling without control. She used her zoom vision as she observed Zion. Zion was not panicking. He was more like lost in thought. She then saw the Omnitrix hum, Zion turning to slow his descent and with a flash of light transform back to his human form. Zion then tried to change into another form but he couldn't. She saw as Zion's calm demeanor break and replaced with panic. And then, Superman! Save me! I am out of charge! Zion shouted like a damsel in distress. Kara swiftly reacted as she flew toward Zion, touring into a stake of red and blue across the sky. With a burst of incredible speed, she reached Zion. Ah! I am dead! Zion shouted, again. Can you stop screaming? Kara asked, her ears ringing due to the close proximity and super hearing. Kara! Zion's panic turned into relief as he saw her. Kara wrapped her arms around him, effortlessly stopping his fall. Her cape billowed in the wind as she carried Zion to safety in a princess carry. Zion had warped his arm around her neck. Zion looked into Kara's eyes. Thank you, he said. My watch timed out. Kara landed on the Daily Planet skyscraper. Zion hurriedly got out of Kara's grasp out in embarrassment. What happened? Superman asked. Well, Omnitrix transforms me back to human after a period of time. It's a safety mechanism to prevent my DNA from altering permanently, Zion explained. So, you can only transform for a short period of time? Kara asked. No, I can keep my transformation for long as I want, but my DNA might change permanently and I don't want to have green skin due to mutation, Zion joked. Every power has its limit, Jimmy remarked. He knows, Zion pointed. Can you change others' DNA permanently? Kara asked. Zion turned to her, looking at her curiously. Why would you want to know? And I can change others' DNA. Just wanted to know, Kara answered. So, can I get my date? Zion wiggled his eyebrows. You can have it, Kara agreed. Okay, meet you tomorrow at 4 p.m., Bibbo's Diner, Zion replied. So, what are we going to do now? Jimmy asked. You got the photo with me and Superman talking. Right. Zion asked. What do you think, mate? Jimmy smirked. Lois will edit it into what she wants. A hope for people without power. An assurance that even if you are ordinary, you can do the extraordinary things. Zion turned to Lois. I can do it, Lois affirmed. You got your news for tomorrow and I got to meet Superman. Finally, we can all enjoy the pie. Now where is the pie? Zion asked. Here. Jimmy extended the bag he was holding. Let's have some pie. Zion turned to Superman. Sorry kid, duty calls. Superman gave a nod to everyone before he flew away. Pie. Zion turned to Kara. Sorry, got to go. Kara flew off. Zion puffed his cheeks and looked at the remaining pair. Lois and Jimmy shrugged and took a piece of pie each. They walked to the door as they enjoyed the delicious apple pie. They got down to the ground floor and started working to publish. Zion left them to do their work and exited the Daily Planet. He got to his car and contemplate what had happened. Things went well for now. I have established connections with Superman and Supergirl. I need to find the other Leaguers, but I am not going to assemble them just yet. Cyborg is important in the formation of Justice League and Titans. I can't disturb his birth. So, I should meet others. Maybe, I should meet Batman. He will know about me eventually and I need his resources to build my armor. Then maybe I should go meet the fastest man alive. Zion closed his diary after writing down his plans for now. Zion kept his diary and turned his car around to meet the Dark Knight. The car zoomed out of the city of tomorrow. Batcave. Batman entered the Batcave after his routine patrol, the familiar hum of the Batcomputer and the soft glow of the monitors providing a comforting sense of normalcy, Batman standards. As he removed his cowl and begun to review the night's data, his keen instincts picked up a subtle irregularity. The Batcomputer's display flickers momentarily before stabilizing, and an unusual message flashes across the screen, one that's not part of his usual Batcave protocols. Batman narrowed his eyes, realizing that something is amiss. His eyes dart around the cave, scanning for any signs of disturbance. The Batmobile, usually neatly parked, appeared to have been moved slightly. Batman quickly checked the surveillance feeds, noticing a glitch in one of the cameras. Batman's instincts kick into high gear as he approached the Batmobile cautiously, his gloved hands hovering over the utility belt, ready to access any necessary gadgets. Batman, a robotic yet sentient voice called. Batman turned to the voice, and was met with an astonishing sight. Emerging from the shadow was what looked like his bat armor, covered in green glowing circuit, a singular circle adorning its face. Hello, Batman. The thing waved at Batman with humane fluidity. Batman remained cautious and vigilant as ever, as he addressed the mysterious intruder with a stern tone. I don't know who or what you are, but you're in my cave, uninvited. Explain yourself. The being nodded his head in understand and walked to his Batcomputer. He hovered his hands above the supercomputer, and the green circuit line retracted from his body and flowed into the computer. Chapter 9. Bat Talk. Batcave. In the dimly lit Batcave, Batman stood in silence as he watched the emerald green lines of energy flow from the cybernetic entity. They snaked their way from the entity to his high-tech computer, the Batcomputer. The lines, a vibrant green hue, wrapped around the computer's metallic frame, tracing intricate patterns, and bathing the entire system in an eerie, otherworldly glow. It was as if an alien force had descended upon his sanctum. As the green light enveloped the Bat computer, its massive screen flickered to life, casting an eerie green illumination across the cave. Batman couldn't help but be captivated by the surreal spectacle unfolding before him. Batman had seen many things in his crime-fighting career, but this was unlike anything he had encountered before. His ever-vigilant mind raced to comprehend the situation. He watched as the unknown entity take full control of his computer, leaving his battle armor standing. Then, it struck him like a bolt of lightning. The entity he was observing was two separate things, his battle armor and an alien force. It was, in fact, fused with his battle armor, which he had meticulously crafted and enhanced over the years. It had become a vessel for this enigmatic green energy. And now it had taken control of his computer, with a purpose of his own. The green glow pulsated in rhythm with Batman's heartbeat as he contemplated the situation. His eyes remained locked on the now green Bat computer screen. It displayed an array of holographic data and symbols, all in a language he didn't recognize. With the curiosity that had driven him to become the Dark Knight, Batman leaned closer, trying to make sense of it all. Well, for your knowledge, Batman started his carrier searching for why his parents were killed. When the eerie silence became too uncomfortable, the green screen hummed and an electric voice spoke from the Bat computer. Hello again, Batman, you know why. What are you? Batman inquired, his voice cold. Well, you can call me Upgrade. / greater than over equal to nables over equal to. The green text and emoticon on the computer screen declared, its voice echoing within the cave. I asked, what are you? How did you find my base of operation? How are you able to possess my armor and computer? Batman's voice grew intense. Wow. See, why chill mate, I am here to help. The emoticon on the screen began to become more expressive. I am Upgrade, a galvanic mechamorph. An alien? Batman concluded. Yes, I am. What are you doing in my Batcave? How did you find it? Batman asked. It was pretty easy. I hacked into all networks in Gotham to find a supercomputer that was sneaking around. You know, when I traced its source back to Wayne Manor, I thought that Batman was hiding under it, like, being roommates with Bruce Wayne or something, but it was a pretty stupid conclusion. Batman's brows creased into a frown. Then I easily infiltrated the Batcave and waited for you to return, which was boring by the way. What do you want? Batman continued his interrogation. I do want something, but before that, what do you want, Batman? The electric voice hummed with eeriness. What do you mean? Batman asked. You are weak, Batman. You are a normal human, without any powers or argumentation. You are not strong enough to end the crimes in Gotham. Far from it. But I can give you that, a power beyond comprehension, strength to defeat gods. So what do you say? The green text on the screen asked, its voice like an enchanting serpent. I don't need it, Batman declared with resolve. The green screen didn't change as Upgrade observed Batman. Both of them stood in a standstill, observing each other, the rising tension between them palpable. Good, the voice said suddenly, alerting the Batman. As Batman stood guard, Upgrade's mechanical tendrils extended from his black and glowing green body, reaching out of the Bat computer. The tendrils carefully and methodically disengaged from the various ports and connections they had fused with. With a series of soft metallic clicks and whirring sounds, the tendrils retracted one by one, leaving the Bat computer unbound. The eerie green light that had enveloped the machine slowly dissipated as Upgrade completed the process. Batman watched in fascination and suspicion as the last tendril detached. The Bat computer's once ensnared components now hung free and operational. The detached tendrils then morphed together to form a 8-foot humanoid. The humanoid had a muscular frame with a circular device on its head with a golden hourglass symbol, surrounded by a green circle. It had a black exterior with green strips that resembled circuitry all over him, with his front torso a dark green with black circuitry patterns. Its long hands extended up to its shin. Upgrade, now fully detached from the Bat computer, looked straight at the Dark Knight, its circular eye focusing on him. You are as rigid as ever, his eyes glowed as he spoke. Nice to meet you, Batman. Name's Zion. Zion extended his hand for a shake. Batman observed his hands without taking it. He was suspicious as ever. Zion retracted his hand. I know that you are suspicious, Batman, and I do want to explain things to you, but now is not the time nor place. You think you can leave? Batman asked, threateningly. I can, Zion said as his body liquefied. And I am stealing your Batbike, Zion remarked as he jumped and attached himself to the Batbike, immediately upgrading it. Broom. Bike roaring sound. The Batbike spun in place, creating smoke from its wheels, before it looked straight at Batman, its front eyes glaring at him. The Batbike had gone under a full change. The black bike had green circuitry line covering all of it. Its body had become sleek, its entire surface covered in a metallic, shape-shifting layer. The bike's guns had a green glow to them, showing that they can shoot more than just bullets. Meet you at Metropolis, Bibbos, 3 p.m., the circular pattern on the bike's head hummed. And check out my gift. Peace out. With that, the bike turned from Batman and accelerated off towards the Batcave's entrance. The gate easily opened to let him leave. Now, Batman stood alone at the cave filled with the echoes of his stolen bike's roar. His eyes narrowed as his brain worked to put all the puzzles he collected during their conversation. With all the clues he had, he deduced the traits of the Upgrade. From its technologically advanced form to its possession to the single target at a time. Batman was no fool. He knew that if someone could enter his cave without alerting his system, that person should have had high level of intellect. And Upgrade's feats just showed his powers. Batman's gaze lingered towards the cave's entrance before he turned to check his devices. He walked up to his computer, typing away to check the file that were stored. After half an hour of skimming through, he found his data wasn't tampered with. Moreover, that his computer seemed to be enhanced. The already supercomputer was performing calculations at Mach speeds and his AI seems to have gained a bit of sentience. While he was searching, he also found a folder that was named to him which was not one of his. He clicked open the file. He found something surprising. Yes, the Dark Knight was surprised. What are you? Batman mumbled. Zion drove the stolen Batbike across Gotham, scaring all the criminals. Even the sound of Batman's vehicle gave these guys nightmares. After enjoying the ride, he took the bike straight out of the Gotham and toward Metropolis. He lowered his engine's roar and drove it toward a warhorse he had bought with Batman's money. While being in the form of a galvanic mechamorph, hacking into a primitive technology was a child's play. He also ordered some of the materials he will need to conduct experiments and make the new power suit for himself. He had yet to ask Superman for his Kryptonian knowledge stored in the Fortress of Solitude. Superman would be suspicious if he asked him right away. He need to warm up to the guy before making that request. He need to earn Superman's trust. But even without the Kryptonian knowledge and tech, he could still build the suit, but it will just be a prototype version as his suit would look like the Hulkbuster armor. He needed something more lean and flexible like Black Panther suit. Zion parked the bike in the middle of the empty warehouse and detached from it, transforming back to his human form. Zion looked at the Batbike, its blackness blending with the warehouse's darkness. Zion had a goofy smile on his lips. Would anyone believe that I stole the Batbike from Batman? Zion then dragged his dusty cloth and covered the bike. He knew that this warehouse was safe, but he didn't want to take chances. The Batcomputer should do its work for me now. Zion had an evil mischievous smile as he thought about the programs he uploaded into Batman's system. He not only upgraded its operating system into something uncomparable to the tech on Earth, he also made sure to delete any kind of data of him from the internet from his birth to his arrival to Metropolis was erased. He also created an algorithm that will automatically remove him from any digital files. He is now a man without any identity. Don't worry, he can just bring them back or get another identity similar to it. Most importantly, he had direct access to Batman's bank account. Damn, I am getting away with stealing from Batman. Let's not push my luck by doing something to anger him. He will probably break my bones. Zion shuddered as he closed the warehouse's door. He then walked up to his car. You are still the best, he said as he got it. He would soon need to upgrade his car into something like a transformer or a mech. It could fight some cannon fodders while he deal with some serious villains like Penguin or Riddler. Ha ha ha, they are so serious, haha. Zion just laughed as he thought about them committing crimes with serious faces. Zion then drove off happily to his apartment in Metropolis City. He bought it with Batman's money. It is near the Daily Planet skyscraper. It will be used for his stay in Metropolis. He will return to his apartment in Central Haven when he needs to meet the Flash. He still thinks it's really a quirky name to be called the Flash. I mean, the Flash. Couldn't writers think of a better name? I am not saying it is a bad name, it is iconic, but it could have been better. Like Tachyon, Savitar, Godspeed, Windbreaker. Why villains get cool names? Well, we will push the naming matters aside. What should he called? He can't just go Zion 10. Come on, that's not how it worked. He needed a name, but he felt like he shouldn't even have a name because if he doesn't have a name, how are they going to refer to him, to target him? Maybe, being a literal ghost will be the best option. Next up on the list should be Flash. I don't want to meet a Green Lantern, by extension the Own Guardians. If they found out about my device, let's just say I have a low chance beating them without turning into Alien X, Zion muttered. Own Guardians being the oldest race of the universe and wielding some reality warping powers. As long as they think that he is a threat to the peace they try so hard to maintain, they would try to remove him from the face of this universe. You can say that he will eventually meet with the Green Lantern anyway when the Justice League assembles, but he would rather not do it until he had his armor. Then, if they want to deal with him, they can deal with a superpowered Kryptonian who would only get stronger as they fight. Ha 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 ha. Chapter 1010. Bat Talk number 2. Hey, it is I. So I am back here to thank people for their support. I will do this every 10 chap maybe. So I think, Professor Slight, I shall do the tradition henceforth. Wolf Lord, thanks for the comments. Tyrantron 355, thank you for the advices. Julio-Cesar-9651. Neox_Ernest. Zetam 1818. Primas. Thank you for the stones and support. Bibbo's Diner. The midday sun cast a warm inviting glow through the large windows of Bibbo's Diner. The atmosphere relaxed, with the lunchtime crowd enjoying their meals and casual conversation. Zion, the young man who causes trouble wherever he goes, sat at a booth near the window. He sat slouched, his fingers drumming lazily on the table, his eyes fixated on the wall clock above the counter. It was only 2:59 p.m. The ticking seconds seemed to drag on as he awaited Batman's arrival. Zion was wearing a dark blue jacket with a plain white t-shirt and matching black trouser. He came ready for the date after the talk with Batman. The aroma of the comforting food filled the air, mixing with the soft chatter of diners. Zion checked his watch, then the clock, and finally gazes out the window at the bright afternoon. He wondered if Batman would come. Maybe he has some appointment? He is a billionaire after all. I should have asked if he was free. Zion thought that he made a mistake somewhere. Zion knew that he could not outsmart the smartest man on this planet, but he could deal with him by keeping him in the dark. As long as the Dark Knight is kept in the dark, he would not strike. Batman is cautious. He would not move without knowing how to defeat his opponent. Well, for high-level threats and not urgent matters. As the clock's second hand made its slow journey toward 12, the diner's entrance swung open, and an unassuming civilian strolled in. It was Bruce Wayne, devoid of his ionic attire, blending seamlessly with the mundane surroundings, drawing minimal attention from the oblivious patrons. Bruce wore a dark brown jacket, a white shirt and black pants. His attire blended with the lunchtime crowd of the diner. Zion maintained his lazy posture and raised his hand to attract Batman's attention. Batman immediately noticed the young man waving at him. He could see that the boy was gesturing toward him. Seeing that he had Batman's attention, Zion pointed to the seat across him. Batman casually walked to the booth and took the seat, casually, not attracting attention. He then looked at Zion in the eyes, his mind thinking of many possibilities about Zion's human appearance. Zion met Batman with blatant sloth. He was not fazed facing the Dark Knight who could shut even the strongest of leaguers with his cold gaze. Batman just looked at him with scrutinizing gaze. Zion adjusted his posture and beckoned to the kind waitress. The woman walked up to him with a kind smile. She clearly recognized Zion as he has been having all his meals at the diner for the last 2 days. Is it the same again? She asked with a kind smile. Yes, ma'am, Zion replied with a warm smile. The waitress then turned to Bruce. What would you like, sir? A black coffee would be enough. Bruce has a small smile matching his persona for the day. Taking both of their order, the kind lady left them to have their conversation. Zion, shedding his earlier indifference, straightened in his seat. He looked at Batman in the eyes, serious as he could. I am not giving the bike back. Bruce just looked at him without replying. He didn't care about the bike, he could just build another. But what he was here was for a different issue and he confirmed he was talking with the right person. What do you want? Batman asked the question, starting his interrogation. Zion leaned back on the seat, his expression thoughtful. Bruce, I've observed your methods closely, and I can't help think that they are ineffective as pinching a crying child to stop its crying. Are they truly making a dent in Gotham's relentless crime? You like a lone wolf fighting against a rising tide. As he spoke, Zion's gaze remained steady on Bruce, searching for a reaction. Even the merciful God flooded the earth to cleanse of its sin. He destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah for their wickedness. When even the generous and most merciful God gets angry, why you, a human, think that you could save some by locking them behind bars, only for them to break out and commit crime again? Zion's words hung in the air as the waitress bustled about, tending to their orders. The atmosphere inside the diner had indeed grown more relaxed, despite the weighty topic at hand. The waitress placed their orders on the table. Zion gave her an appreciative nod before turning back to Bruce. Bruce, now sipping his black coffee, contemplated Zion's unconventional perspective. Then he replied calmly, I've heard my methods questioned countless times, and I've questioned them myself. The darkness I embrace, it's not without reason. Gotham's crime, its corruption, it's a relentless storm that demands a fierce response, but killing is not the way. Even the God you talk about gave his son to be sacrificed so his blood could give the humans another chance. Zion looked at Batman seriously. He was expecting his point to be used against him, but darn. I am not suggesting you to become an executioner, Bruce, ending every human life in Gotham. No, that's not what this is about. It's about recognizing those who are beyond redemption, like the Joker. People have shown time and again that they won't change, that they thrive in chaos. Zion's tone softened as he continued, his voice carrying a hint of empathy. And then there are those like Mr. Freeze, individuals who are driven by tragic circumstance, consumed by their own pain. They might still have a chance for redemption, for a life beyond crime. Isn't it our especially, to find a way to help them, to show them there's a path back to light? Bruce considered Zion's words carefully. He leaned back in his seat, his expression contemplative. I've spent years grappling with the question of how to deal with those like the Joker and Mr. Freeze. It's a constant moral dilemma. I can't be the judge and executioner, but I can't simply turn a blind eye either. He paused, his voice tinged with a sense of frustration. My methods may seem extreme, but they're rooted in the belief that even the most twisted souls can find redemption. I won't kill, but I'll do everything in my power to bring them to justice and offer them a chance to change, no matter how slim that chance may be. Just like the God you speak of, everyone deserves a chance. Zion nodded, acknowledging the complexity of Batman's position. He understood Batman, but Zion would rather send the criminals to be judged by God than give them a chance to take another life. He would break bones and spines, if it meant to stop them from ever committing crimes again. But Zion also understood what Bruce was talking. After all, his whole life he was preached about the love of God. His father had drilled into him many times that everyone who walks this earth deserve the chance to change and be good. I understand, I really do. But I also know that you fear getting consumed by the pleasure of killing. Zion knew of Batman's fears. The man didn't want to become what he fought against, to become what his nemesis wanted him to be. And Zion didn't want a Batman to become an executioner. He wanted to help him see another path, a better one. You trained your whole life for this, starting with the death of your parents. I understand that you don't want to go down that path, but what about another? Zion asked, causing Bruce to look at him skeptically. Zion took a thick folded paper from his jacket and slid it to Batman. Batman picked it up and opened to find a blueprint. The blueprint contained a cubical device with sophisticated design, labeled Atomic Engine. It's an advanced version of nuclear reactor, designed to generate clean, limitless energy. With this you could power the entire Gotham without relying on conventional sources. It uses nuclear waste from nuclear plants and experiments. A cubic meter of it could power entire Gotham for at least a millennium. Zion briefed. Bruce scanned the blueprint more carefully. He could see the intricate part that seemingly fit together to create a 600-cell platonic structure inside Tesseract. The design's measurement were kept in ratio standards, showing that the structure can be adjusted to specific needs. Why are you showing this to me? Bruce asked. He knew that this kind of technology would many lust over it. This atomic engine could produce waste-free energy and run a city for 1,000 years. Then there is the untold power of the engine if it was turned to a weapon. I am giving this to you because you know what it means to have wealth and help other. This will help you have the whole of energy industry at your palm. But I don't want anyone else to know about this engine, and I alone can build this for you. And I need money, Zion said the last part in whispers. I understand what you are trying to say. But this tech is dangerous in the wrong hands, Batman said. That's why only I am allowed to build it and you to use it, Zion pointed. And how do I trust you to? Batman asked the question. Zion showed a shocked and betrayed expression. We have been having the talk for this long and you still don't trust me, darn. I don't trust, Zion. I don't even know if that is your name, Batman replied. My name is Zion. Want me to show my driver's license? Zion took out his wallet to show it to Bruce. How can I trust that it is not faked? Batman asked. Zion just froze, realizing that he can't prove shit to Batman after erasing his identity from all database. Well, just trust me. Zion gave forced smile. Batman just raised his eyebrow. He had a rule to never trust someone and be suspicious of everything. Okay, listen Bruce. If you don't want to trust me as a person, then we could be in a business partnership. I build the engine and you pay me, easy. Zion spoke of the alternative. Zion couldn't convince the most sexual person on this planet to trust him with few flowery words. You want Batman to trust you, you got to earn it through blood. Then what about the one I met in the cave? Batman asked. One of my forms, Zion replied. Shape-shifting? Batman asked. Kinda, Zion kept it vague. Okay, Batman gave a slight nod. I will trust you on this as you don't seem to be lying. Hey, I don't lie, Zion shrugged. Batman took another sip of his coffee, and Zion munched on the extra spicy shawarma. The scene was peaceful for a moment, until Zion talked again. But I still suggest filling the criminals with the fear of God. Strict laws, zero tolerance with specific offense and heavy punishment that border on offending the human rights could frighten criminals from committing crime. I mean, we could execute the worst of criminals in public and cut the hands of robbers who bombs. What do you think? Batman just glared at Zion, but he also contemplated. Zion just took a bite out of the shawarma, unfazed by Batman's glare. I am correct and you know it too, Zion said matter-of-factly. Come on, we already have a country with less than 10% crime rate and safe for anyone who is living in it. USA is definitely not in that list. Chapter 11:11. Date. Bibbo's restaurant. Zion munched on the shawarma as he glanced at the clock. It was only 3:15 p.m., just 15 minutes into their conversation. He turned to Bruce, who had finished his cup of coffee. Bruce was getting ready to leave. He didn't have time to sit around and enjoy the day. I'll return and analyze the blueprint. I'll contact you once I've made a decision, Batman stated. How will you contact me? Zion inquired. Batman paused, realizing that he had promised to find Zion almost instinctively. He had always known how to reach the people he dealt with. If not, he would find a way. He was Batman after all. However, Zion was an enigma. Bruce had attempted to locate individuals named Zion rather than Upgrade, hoping that no one would name their child Upgrade. But he had only found a handful of people with that name, none of whom matched the person he had met today. He didn't even know if the person before him was using their real appearance. Furthermore, he had discovered several algorithms running on his computer that erased all traces of specific data. He knew the data being deleted was related to an identity, but he couldn't determine whose. He couldn't even break down the code to identify it, and it was his own computer. Here, Zion slid a small pen drive toward Bruce. It contains a list of materials I need and my phone number. Just give me a call, and I'll meet you at the cave. Bruce didn't respond with words but nodded before departing. He pushed open the door and stepped out into the bright early evening. His civilian attire allowed him to blend seamlessly with the bustling Metropolis crowd. As Zion watched, Bruce disappeared into the city's busy streets. Zion continued to observe the daily life of Metropolis. He watched as people hurried past, each absorbed in their own world, their faces hidden behind newspapers or glowing screens. Towering skyscrapers loomed overhead, casting long shadows on the sunlit streets. Despite being surrounded by so many people, a sense of loneliness crept over Zion. He was beginning to feel homesick, though he would never admit it. He missed the familiar sights and sounds of his hometown, as well as the comforting annoyance of his friend, Mark. He had never left that boring town, as he calls it, throughout his life. That town was his home, but he had tasks to complete here. He needed to prepare, especially to confront Darkseid, not kill. Killing Darkseid would have far-reaching consequences through time, and he couldn't afford to be swept away by the tide it would create. Then there was Doomsday, an absolute killing machine that posed a serious threat to Superman. But with me building the stellar armor, that shouldn't be an issue. Yep, that's what I'll call the Yellow Sun armor. It should enhance Superman's strength enough for him to battle Doomsday without tiring. And let's not forget yours truly will be present. I can simply reduce Doomsday to atoms with Automix. Ben couldn't use Automix for extended periods because of his stamina. It took a considerable toll on him. But I don't have that drawback. I mean, Automix created a miniature sun and left it suspended even after reverting to his original form. That was only one of his feats. I won't admit that Ben is weak just because he lost to Malgax. We all know Ben was getting fatigued, especially while using Automix. Let's just agree that Ben never used his alien at full power. He always held back during his fights. As his thoughts drifted further and further, he became lost in them, and time became irrelevant, with only his thoughts to alleviate his boredom. Zion slowly emerged from his reverie, refocusing on reality. He glanced at the clock, It read 3:59 p.m. Kara was due to arrive. Zion straightened in his seat, exuding confidence, shedding his previously bored expression. As he composed himself, the door to Bibbo's diner swung open, and there she was, Kara Zor-El, entering with an air of casual confidence. For their meeting, Kara had opted for a tomboyish outfit that exuded effortless style. She wore a simple black tee that highlighted her casual yet attractive demeanor, paired with dark jeans that perfectly complemented her top. These comfortable yet flattering jeans accentuated her relaxed yet fashionable look. Over her shoulders hung a black leather jacket, adding a touch of edginess to her ensemble. Her hair was neatly combed to the side, and her bright blue eyes sparkled with a faint smile as she spotted Zion. Her appearance was effortless, yet it carried a stunning charm. Zion found himself captivated by Kara's presence, completely enchanted. A side note, if Mark were here, he might have teased Zion for being smitten, but unfortunately, he's not around. Zion greeted her with a warm smile as she approached, although his mind struggled to re-anchor itself to reality. As Kara settled across from him at their table, the bustling diner seemed to fade into the background, leaving only the two of them in a suspended moment in time. "Hello, Zion," Kara greeted him. Zion shook off his momentary daze, his thoughts finally regaining their composure. "Ah, nice to meet you. You look stunning," he complimented her without thinking. Kara returned the compliment with a polite response, albeit a bit reserved. As their eyes met, Zion briefly glanced at his own attire and then back to Kara, reassuring himself that he had dressed appropriately, far better than his initial plan of showing up in an exquisite tuxedo. It was a blue jacket with white t-shirt and dark blue jean. "Thank you for the compliment, and for meeting me here," Zion replied. Kara acknowledged his gratitude with a nod before they discussed the idea of having a meal to continue their conversation. The decision was swiftly made. Zion signaled the friendly waitress over to their table. She approached with a kind smile, noting Zion's busy day. The waitress addressed Kara. "And what would you like, dear?" Kara perused the diner's menu, taking her time to explore the unfamiliar dishes of Earth. After contemplation, she made her choice. "I'll have a cheeseburger and a milkshake, please. I've heard it's one of the best dishes to try here." The waitress turned her attention to Zion, inquiring about his order. He promptly replied, "I'll have the same." With their orders placed, the waitress departed, leaving Zion and Kara to continue their conversation while they awaited their meal. Zion shifted his attention to Kara, his demeanor composed and collected. "So, Kara, how has your experience been on this Earth?" Kara hesitated for a moment, catching Zion's emphasis on this Earth. Her guard went up as she asked, "What do you mean by this Earth?" Zion clarified, "I meant this Earth where you arrived only 10 days ago. How have you found your time here?" Kara's inquired, yet alert of any sudden moments. "How did you know about that?" "I know many things, Kara. From your arrival on Earth to the fight with Zod and dying at his hands," Zion replied, not providing a direct answer. "How did you know?" Kara asked, her eyes turning red with impatience. Wow. Calm down, you don't want to kill civilians." Zion raised his hands in surrender. "I am something similar to your existence, Kara. An anomaly that shouldn't exist, at least on this side of the multiverse." "You are from another universe?" Kara asked, seeking clarification about his origin. No, I was born and raised here, on this very planet that's orbiting around the yellow sun and is a trouble magnet," Zion replied. "Then how do you know all this?" Kara remained skeptical. "My body was born on this planet, but not my soul. My soul comes from outside this multiverse. You could say I am a reincarnator." Zion shrugged. "I have eons of memories in my head, which is weird by the way. It's like being an old man who understands the secrets of the universe and, at the same time, a child who's curious about the stars in the sky." Kara absorbed this unusual explanation without further comment, processing the nature of Zion's existence. "Why are you here? There must be a reason for your presence," Kara inquired, believing there had to be a purpose behind it. She, herself, had a duty to protect this Earth, a commitment made with that mysterious entity who had saved her. "Well, I am here to prepare the champions of Earth to fight the fight of their lifetime. And I do know the person who brought you here, but I can't tell you about him," Zion explained cryptically. "Then why did he save me?" Kara pressed, seeking clarification about her specific role. "Well, I can only say that your existence is special, Kara," Zion replied, leaving her with no further explanation. Kara contemplated this response, realizing that delving further into the matter related to her arrival or the enigmatic being who had saved her might be fruitless at this time. Instead, she shifted her focus to other pieces of information she had received. While Kara contemplated, a waiter arrived with their food. Zion acknowledged the waiter with a nod of appreciation before turning his attention back to Kara. "What about the threat?" Kara asked, referring to the danger she had been informed of. Zion smiled mysteriously but remained silent. "What are you preparing us for?" she pressed, her tone becoming more assertive. Zion continued to withhold specifics and merely locked eyes with her. His gaze conveyed a sense of childish amusement and a hint of mischief. Zion enjoyed causing chaos and witnessing the world burn, yet he also offered a path to salvation, only to watch it crumble. Kara met Zion's gaze with confidence and unwavering determination. She had seen her own death and was not afraid of impending danger. She knew that whatever threat Zion spoke of would require all her will and strength. "Do you really want to know?" Zion asked, his voice tinged with excitement. "Yes," Kara affirmed resolutely. "A mad god," Zion replied. "A god," Kara exclaimed, taken aback by the revelation. "No, not god. Weaker, a lesser powerful god," Zion clarified. Kara fell into a thoughtful silence, contemplating what Zion had disclosed. How powerful is he? Zion leaned forward, resting his head on his clasped hand. He is a cosmic entity powerful enough to defeat Superman under the blazing yellow sun. Kara remained silent, her mind racing. She didn't know the extent of Superman's strength, but she was aware that he was considered the most powerful being on Earth. If he even couldn't defeat this mad god, then they faced a formidable adversary. Then how are we supposed to defeat this god? Kara asked, her voice laced with uncertainty. I have a plan to defeat this mad god, a plan that involves. Zion paused dramatically. A rubber chicken. Chapter 12. 12. Rubber chicken. Hello again, Carrot. How have you been? Good day? Yeah, I am here to give you guys a bad news. I am dropping this novel. Did I get you? Greater than over equal to nablus than over equal to. Now, jokes aside, I will not be updating chapter this Friday, but I will try to update 2 chaps the Monday. Don't fear. I won't drop this novel, never, and my friends got released on first. So check it out, it's called Legion Combat. Peace out. 繰り返し. Rubber chicken? Kara was taken aback by Zion's answer. Zion leaned in even closer, as if revealing a secret only they could understand. His amusement shed, and solemnity took its place. Kara, the rubber chicken is but a symbol of our audacity in the face of cosmic chaos. You see, the mad god's weakness is laughter, and with the power of humor, we can thwart his nefarious plans. What? Laughter? The power of humor? Kara asked skeptically. Kara was further confused due to Zion's seriousness, causing her to doubt that there might be a cosmic weapon that is a rubber chicken. Zion leaned back, adopting an exaggerated pondering pose. The rubber chicken of destiny is a rare artifact, hidden away in the deepest recesses of the city. We must embark on a quest, follow the clues hidden in the most unlikely places, and with hearty chuckles, we shall locate it. Kara regarded him with a raised eyebrow, her skepticism surfacing as she tried to discern the truth beneath his confusing words. Kara asked thoughtfully, Zion, this all sounds fake. But, is this rubber chicken quest for real, or are you just trying to humor the conversation? Zion, still in his persona, leaned back in his chair, a twinkle of mischief in his eyes. He then said cryptically, Kara, the truth often wears the mask of absurdity. The rubber chicken may seem like a jest, but sometimes, the most unexpected paths lead to the most vital discoveries. Kara's skepticism lingered as she gazed at Zion, her thoughts caught between perplexity and intrigue. Kid, stop messing with the poor girl. Someone cut into their conversation. Zion turned to see it was the kind waitress. She had a small amused smile on her lips as she looked at him. I do love you youngling conversing, but don't let the food wait, she pointed at their food. The burger was cold, and the milkshake was just water at this point. They had ignored the food while conversing, attracting the attention of the kind lady. Sorry, ma'am. It's just she looked so cute getting all serious that I couldn't hold myself back from teasing her a bit. Zion smiled sheepishly. Kara looked at him as if he had killed her dog, absolutely pissed. She couldn't believe that she was falling for all the lies this guy was spouting. This was why she never believed in humans, full of lies and deceit. Zion shrunk a bit at her glare. He might have taken the joke a bit too far. She was just so serious about all the threats and such. He was never the type to be full serious about things. He would just wing it as things progressed. Do you want me to reheat it? The waitress asked. Yes, please, Zion answered. The waitress then picked up the plate and left to reheat them. With the waitress's leave, Kara turned to Zion. Zion, enough with the games. If there's a real threat, I need to know what it is, and I need to know now. Kara spoke, her tone firm. Zion dropped the facade and became earnest. Kara, I apologize for the theatrics. There is indeed a threat, one that's beyond the scope of rubber chickens and whimsical quests. Kara, her skepticism now replaced by a sense of concern, nodded attentively. Tell me everything, Zion. I need to know what we are up against and how we can stop it. Zion gave her an affirmative nod. But before that, why don't we have our meal? The waitress placed their heated meal. Be sure to eat it before it cools down again. Yes, ma'am, Zion replied. Call me if you need anything else, the waitress said before she walked away. Thank you, Zion voiced. Zion then turned to Kara and pointed at her plate. Why don't you give it a try? Kara looked at her cheeseburger. The burger was laced with layers of cheese, lettuce, and tomato, all nestled between perfectly toasted buns. With a little bit of expectation, she picked up the burger, examining it with interest, and then took a tentative bite. The moment the flavors exploded on her palate, Kara's eyes widened with surprise and pleasure. It was a revelation, an experience she had never encountered before. The juiciness of the beef patty combined with the creamy cheese, the crunch of fresh lettuce, and the tangy tomato created a symphony of tastes that danced on her super taste buds. Zion sat there with a small smile, observing the minute changes in Kara's face. He too lifted his burger and took a bite. Good, isn't it? Zion asked. It is, Kara replied, savoring the taste of the American cheeseburger. Why don't you try the milkshake next? Zion suggested. While savoring the cheeseburger's delightful flavors, she turned her attention to the milkshake that had accompanied her meal. However, to her dismay, it had gone slightly warm during their conversation. Kara wanted to enjoy the meal to the fullest, so she subtly exhaled, activating her freeze breath, directing a controlled stream of cold air onto the milkshake. The moment her icy breath touched the glass, a frosty layer formed on its surface, and the milkshake began to cool rapidly, returning to its refreshing, chilled state. Seeing her use her freeze breath, Zion asked, Superman. Kara took a sip of the now-cooled milkshake, to use it if the situation needed it. Like saving people from a fire. So like Superman, Zion just commented and lifted his milkshake. Cool mine too. Kara looked at Zion with a stoic expression at his request. I don't want to change with a flash of golden light, Zion shrugged and then pointed at his milkshake. Kara gave him a stink eye before using her breath to cool down his milkshake. Thank you. Kara didn't reply and continued her delicious meal, enjoying every bite of it. Zion followed her and enjoyed his meal in comfortable silence. After 5 minutes, Kara looked at her empty plate in dismay. The food was really delicious, and she wanted more. Here, Zion pushed a plate of barbecue bacon burger. Thank you, Kara replied before lifting the burger and examining it. This burger was different from the one she had, so she first took a small bite, savoring the different combination of flavors. Enjoy it. We can continue our talk throughout the date. Up next on the list is a ghost movie, Zion stated as he got up. I will be back after I wash my hands. Kara hummed as she enjoyed the tender juicy patty infused with the rich tangy barbecue sauce, complemented by the crispy bacon that added a satisfying crunch. Zion left her to enjoy the meal. He very much liked to watch Kara enjoy her meal, but he felt like he should let her enjoy her meal alone, savoring the moment of exploration. After all, she deserved it after all the time she had lost. Yo, I am not trying to break Kara's character. And remember, Kara was always enthusiastic and cheery when she was on Krypton. It was Earth that changed her mindset. Zion returned from his trip. Shall we go watch the new movie? Okay, but let me also wash my hands. Kara got up to wash her hands. Take your time, Zion replied with a smile. Zion paid the bill while he waited for Kara. Kara returned quickly, and both of them walked to the door, which Zion opened for Kara. Zion gave the table a final look before he walked out of the diner. Typical, he muttered under his breath. After watching the movie, I wasn't expecting the demon to tackle the nun. I mean, it's a powerful demon, and it chose to fist fight the weak nun, Zion rambled. The ghost movie they watched was underwhelming to say the least. He was scared during the first half of the movie and hid his face behind a pack of popcorn, but in the last part when the demon materialized, he felt like the demon was not a demon at all. Do demons look like that? Kara asked. More or less, but most of them are bound to hell and can't leave, Zion replied. In Krypton, demons were more like symbols of challenges we face in life. They test our strength, our resolve, and our ability to choose the path of goodness. Kara explained the beliefs of Krypton. Rao, the 14 deities, and the 203 demigods. Krypton was a religious planet too, but unlike humans on Earth who say God doesn't exist, at least your people believed, Zion commented. Yes, we always believed, but it didn't save us from destruction. Kara's voice had a tinge of sadness as she remembered her home planet. God doesn't play dice, Kara, Zion turned to her. If he does, there will be no free will. With no free will, we are nothing but puppets to fate. True, Kara agreed. And Krypton's destruction was nothing but nature taking its course. The planet had its run, and it ended its race. There is no need to be sad about it, Zion replied. Zion didn't want to say that there was a conspiracy behind Krypton's destruction. He didn't want Kara to focus on revenge and search for the person responsible. It's an absolute waste of time. I wish that more of us survived, Kara voiced her wish. There is an infinite version of you in this multiverse. You are never alone. You can just break the dimensional barrier and meet another you, Zion shrugged. But they are not my people. It will never be my home, Kara replied. Understandable, Zion agreed. Zion and Kara walked out of the cinema. The sky had turned dark with a red sun sinking on the horizon. The hidden stars peeked through the scattering clouds. A cool breeze washed over them. Zion and Kara walked to Zion's car, parked right outside the cinema. When are you going to talk about the threat? Kara asked as she strapped on her seatbelt. On our next destination, Zion replied as he started the car. The car glided through the city's bustling streets, the gentle hum of the engine providing a soothing backdrop to their silence. Zion's car finally reached its destination, Metropolis Bay. Zion parked the car near the sidewalk and disembarked with Kara. The Metropolis Bay, the perfect place to unwind and clear your mind. Zion spoke as a gentle breeze ruffled his hair. Zion took in the gentle breeze and the symphony of waves. The ambience was serene, a stark contrast to the bustling city they had left behind. Zion started walking with Kara beside him, enjoying the momentary peace. Zion turned to Kara, his smile sincere. Kara, the threat that we are about to face is not something you can defeat alone. Kara perked up, listening attentively. It will take many champions, and I am here to prepare them, to strengthen them, so they can have an easier battle. Zion finished, not explaining what the threat was. You are not going to tell? Kara asked. I can't. Law of cause and effect. The moment I reveal the threat to you, it would cause a ripple that will bring forth tidal waves in time, Zion replied as he looked up at the sky. The universe always finds a way to balance things, as it always should be. I am not outside of it. Then how are you going to strengthen the champions? Kara asked. I don't know yet. I can build different armors to help them. I can teach them knowledge. I can also nurture the young champions. Or I can become their greatest adversary, a villain strong enough to push them past their limits, Zion answered. He then turned to Kara. But if I become their villain, I would also become a wall they could never cross, stunting their growth. You think we can't defeat you? Kara asked. No, they will defeat me, but I will create a barrier that will stop them from trusting me, and I really don't want to fight them. I would rather fight some otherworldly demons than a walking plot armor that they call Superman, Zion cringed. All those times the Justice League defeated their villains, it was always a hard-fought battle. They would lose their friends for victory, but it would never be worth the sacrifice. What's the point of gaining the world when you lose your soul? Chapter 13:13. Kara's Adventures. Metropolis City. Today was an exceptionally cloudy day, the kind that cast a heavy shadow over the bustling city. Dark clouds gathered above, looming like an omen of impending turmoil. Kara, with a contemplative expression, sat on a skyscraper looking down at the bustling city of Metropolis. She could see the urban chaos unfolding below. Car horns blaring angrily at each other in the chaotic traffic, workers in sharp suits and hurried expressions scurrying to their towering offices, and the cacophonous screams of machinery echoing through the canyons of steel and glass. All these urban symphonies reached her ears, but she seemed untouched by the commotion. Her gaze, usually as bright as the morning sun, was now clouded and unfocused, lost in deep contemplation. Her vivid blue eyes mirrored the uncertainty that weighed heavily on her heart. The news of a looming threat had taken root in her thoughts, casting a shadow that even Metropolis's darkest clouds couldn't match. Zion's cryptic words didn't help much either. For all she learned, the threat was something all of them would need to face together to overcome. The cosmic threat didn't make her heart waver. It only made her more resolute in her decision. At the same time, she didn't know if she could trust Zion. He was just a person she met the other day. She couldn't completely trust him like Kal-El neither. And with his request to use the Fortress of Solitude, her doubt about him only increased. Yet, when she looked into his eyes as he told her about himself, she could find no deceit. She might not be the best at looking through someone's facade. However, she knew not to trust easily. If the years of imprisonment had taught her something, it was everyone for themselves. Even Barry only saved her because he needed Superman to fight Zod. She was grateful to him for saving her, but she also understood the truth, that she only escaped because the world needed a superhero to fight the world-ending crisis. And she fought to protect the world she hated because they were not different from herself, too weak to fight back. In the end, she was saved by an unknown entity. The entity with the power to change fate and with unparalleled cosmic power. He asked her to stay here. But why? She arrived at that question again. She was not special or anything, and there was another Kara who would arrive in the near future. So why was she saved? Did she possess some remarkable ability? For all she knew, she had similar abilities to Superman. That was all. But Zion, he had the power to fight, to change into another form to escape his reality, and he knew of her past. He was a singularity, an existence that is unique in his own right. He also knew about the entity but refused to reveal any information. For now, she could only trust him, but she didn't know if she should allow him to enter the Fortress of Solitude. The Kryptonian knowledge stored in the fortress with many other civilizations in the wrong hands could bring unimaginable disaster. The fortress gave her a feeling of home that she had missed so much. Brainiac welcomed her after it learned of her Kryptonian heritage, but it was confused as it learned of her identity as her features didn't match the Kara Zor-El in its database. Kal-El, after explaining the situation to Brainiac, showed her around the fortress. The ship itself was unique, carrying countless artifacts from many civilizations. Its walls were adorned with holographic displays, showcasing the history and culture of the stored worlds. She saw many civilizations bottled in a container with its citizens in suspended animation. Kal-El was learning how to release them, but the process would take time. But it was a poignant reminder of the world she had lost, and yet, it also held the promise of discovering her roots and understanding her place in the universe. She knew that she was alone in the universe. In time, she would eventually discover her purpose and her home in this universe. But for now, she needed to protect this city. After a few hours of nothing, the moon hung low over the city, casting a shimmering silver glow across the tranquil waters of the sea. Kara was gliding across the metropolis sky far above where the eyes could see, her cape billowing gently with the night breeze. The day had gone without a hitch. No accidents, no one trying to kill another person, no one trying to bomb, no robbery, at least for her. Superman was using his free time from protecting Metropolis to help around the world. Even though it was inefficient for him to move across the world every time, while Kara, who was free, could do the world-saving thing while Kal-El kept to Metropolis. When Kara asked, he declined, saying some situations might cause diplomatic problems if they involve recklessness. Superman was the only world-saving hero for now, the only one with the power to fight across the world, even if there were diplomatic troubles. Hey, he is Superman. Superman represents hope. Help. Somebody help. Help me, please. A distress shout echoed in the Metropolis night. Kara's super hearing picked up the distress cry, and without hesitation, she charged in the direction of the cry. Her figure blurred as she sped up to arrive on time to help. The cry led her to the Metropolis docks. The entire place was shrouded in an eerie darkness, bringing fear deep within the human heart. The lampost's light flickered, making one think that a monster would attack them the minute the light blinked. Kara lowered her altitude, her figure shrouded in the moonlight. She used her X-ray vision to find the source of the cry, but she was confused to find that there was no need for help. All she saw was the empty docks, with some men working their night shifts. Someone help. 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 The cry rang again. Kara snapped in the direction. A ship hidden by the cover of the night, not far away from the docks. Kara quickly rushed to help, arriving to see a person trapped beneath a stack of heavy crates. Concern etched across her face, she rushed forward, her super strength making quick work of the obstacle. But just as she reached out to assist, the seemingly injured person revealed his true identity. Kara was taken aback. What are you? She could now see the person due to the scarce light in the ship. It was no person. It was a machine. The head resembled a metallic skull with sinister glowing eyes that pierced through the darkness. His chest contained a green glowing stone in a transparent chamber. His arms and legs were cybernetic limbs. His entire body was covered in metallic plating. I am Metallo, little girl. I was aiming for Superman, but you will do for now. Metallo, with a sinister laugh, exposed his chest, revealing his deadly kryptonite heart that powered him. The green, radioactive glow of the kryptonite heart bathed Kara in its debilitating energy. Kara moved back in alert, the conversation she had with Kal-El replaying in her head. Remember, even though we have unimaginable strength below the yellow sun, we are still susceptible to some things on this planet. Such as kryptonite, its radiation causes us immense pain, and it will gradually weaken us the longer we are exposed. Kara deduced that the green stone in the cyborg's chest was the kryptonite Kal-El spoke of. So she maintained a distance from it, knowing that she might be weakened if she stayed near. Metallo grinned. That's right, girl. You're not so invulnerable now. Metallo taunted. He had prepared this trap to catch Superman, but his plan attracted the young one. He knew of the second super in Metropolis. He was prepared to deal with them both if it came to be. He had prepared a lethal amount of kryptonite. Kara moved back until her back was against the ship's guardrails. She could only fly further to avoid Metallo. She was about to fly away, but Metallo wasted no time. He unleashed a powerful blast of kryptonite energy from his chest, sending Kara hurtling through the air and into the dark waters. Kara hit the water with a tremendous splash, the force of the impact causing her to sink beneath the surface. The cold, salty seawater enveloped her, drowning her in the sinking comfort of the darkness. Meanwhile, Metallo, his robotic body unfazed by the water, followed Kara into the sea. He descended beneath the surface, his mechanical limbs allowing him to move effortlessly through the water. With a sinister grin, he closed in on the struggling Kara. There's no escape, girl. Your powers are useless underwater, Metallo taunted. Hey, don't ask me how Kara can listen to him underwater. It's super hearing. Kara, still regaining her balance in the water, could feel the whole ocean weighing her down. But she wasn't feeling suffocated as she thought she would. She could still feel the strength in her limbs. She tried to swim up, but Metallo wasn't going to give her the chance. Metallo extended one of his robotic arms toward Kara, ready to grasp her and sink her to the depths of the sea. Kara's vision slowly cleared, giving her a full view of the ocean as Metallo rushed to finish her off while bathing her in the green kryptonite's light. Metallo extended his arm to grasp Kara's neck. Kara regained her stability, slapped the hand away, and punched the cyborg with all her remaining strength. Metallo received the full force of the punch unimpeded. A shockwave exploded on the ocean floor as Metallo shot out of the sea like a rocket, blasting off the surface. Kara, now with a clear mind, noticed the changes in her body. She could still feel the strength flowing through her body. She could still hear the vibrations brought from the oceanic beings. She could hear the distant calls of the whales. She could still feel the change of the tectonic plates, the gravity pulling her to the earth. Her senses were still sharp. A smile made its way to Kara's lips as a possibility entered her mind. You are special, Kara, Zion's words echoed in the backdrop. Kara summoned her strength and kicked off the ocean floor, rocking the Metropolis dock. Boom! Water splashing. She propelled herself upwards, breaking through the surface of the water. The moonlight illuminated her as she floated above the sea surface. She quickly scanned the surroundings for her assailant. She found Metallo crawling out of the broken crater, his jaw shattered. Kara's figure blurred before she appeared next to Metallo, her fist connecting to his skull in an uppercut, launching him into the air. She then appeared in the air before slamming to the ground. Metallo, unable to respond to the onslaught, was thrown around like a ragdoll. Metallo formed a crater as he took his place on the ground. Boom. Kara slowly landed next to the crater, her eyes not leaving Metallo's metal body. Why? Are you not weakened? Metallo's voice cracked. Kara stood above him without replying, her eyes focused on his kryptonite heart. Kara crouched, her hand grasped the piece of kryptonite before pulling it out. Metallo was shocked to see Kara grasping the kryptonite without showing any signs of pain or any other for that matter. Kara checked the glowing rock in her hand, her eyes scanning the kryptonite. She was checking to see if the rock really did weaken her. Her finding was that it didn't. The kryptonite wasn't affecting her in any way. It was just a glowing rock in her hand. Kara then turned to the metal man. She was thinking about what to do with him. Chapter 14:14. Meeting Barry, Central City, 12:30 a.m. Beep. Beep. Alarm. The alarm blared through the quiet halls of the Central City Museum. An ear-piercing siren wailed throughout the museum. Startled guards leaped to their feet, awakened to the aftermath of the daring heist at the museum. Each guard was dressed in a crisp uniform, their expressions resolute as they reached for their walkie-talkies and flashlights. One of the guards, Frank, a burly man with a grizzled beard, was among the first to respond. He had spent years protecting the museum's treasures and considered them almost like family. His heart raced as he approached the source of the alarm. It's gone, Frank exclaimed, his voice tinged with disbelief, as he reached the room where the worthy pod had been displayed. The empty pedestal glistened under the cold light of the emergency fixtures. The other guards quickly gathered, their expressions mirroring Frank's shock. Among them was Maria, a young woman with a background in art history, who had always been captivated by the worthy pod's mystique. She gasped and muttered, "How could this happen?" Jim, another guard known for his level-headedness, began to relay their situation over the walkie-talkie, his voice steady despite the urgency of the moment. "This is Security Team Alpha. We have a breach in the worthy pod exhibit. I repeat, the pod is missing." As the alarms continued to blare, the guards scanned the room for any signs of foul play. Dust motes danced in the air, caught in the eerie red glow, but there was no trace of forced entry or struggle. Fear gripped the museum staff as they realized the implication of this theft. The worthy pod was no ordinary artifact. It was said to hold immeasurable power, and its absence threatened to disrupt the delicate balance of history and legend. With a deep breath, Frank took charge, his grizzled features hardening with resolve. We need to notify the authorities immediately. But remember, we have the Flash in this city. If anyone can catch the thief and recover the pod, it's him. In the heart of Central City, Barry Allen, the mild-mannered forensic scientist, sat at his cluttered desk in the police department's crime lab. The hum of fluorescent lights and rhythmic beeping of machinery surrounded him as he meticulously examined a piece of evidence under a microscope. His concentration was broken when the phone on his desk rang insistently. Barry's hand shot out to answer it, his fingers trembling slightly with anticipation. Barry Allen, he answered in his usual calm and collected tone. On the other end of the line, a frantic voice crackled with urgency. Barry, it's Daryl, said the voice of his captain. We got a problem. The Central City Museum has been hit. The worthy pod is gone. Barry furrowed his brow. The worthy pod was an artifact surrounded by myth, a legendary artifact of immeasurable power. He had read about it in the newspapers about the exhibit. Are you serious, Captain? Barry replied, his voice tinged with disbelief. Captain Fry's voice was grim. Yes, Barry. We were just informed. The place is a mess, and the museum staff are in a state of panic. I have already dispatched a pair of detectives. I want you to go collect evidence and see if you could find anything. Barry gave a nod, even though his captain could not see it. I am on my way, he ended the call. With a quick movement, Barry left his lab coat behind, revealing the iconic red and gold Flash suit hidden beneath. In an instant, he transformed into the Scarlet Speedster. Barry Allen, as the forensic scientist for the Central City Police Department, arrived at the crime scene. The Central City Museum's grand entrance lay before him, marked by flashing police lights and hushed voices of officers and museum staff. He quickly flashed his badge to gain access and had his way past the security tape that cordoned off the area. The tension inside was palpable as the police interviewed the witnesses, yellow tape surrounding the cleanly cut display case, and the red glow of the alarm. Barry wasted no time and donned a pair of latex gloves before getting to work. He carefully examined the cut on the display glass, his sharp eyes scanning for any trace evidence, while his keen mind catalogued every detail. As he used a magnifying glass to observe the cut, he found something unusual. The cut on the glass was rough, unlike the precise cut made by a tool. It was as if a dull nail was scratched on the surface at high speed. His mind raced even faster than usual, processing the implication of these peculiar markings. It was a telltale sign that they might be dealing with a meta. Barry's forensic skill kicked into high gear as he checked for fingerprints and took photographs. I want this display case in the lab for further analysis, Barry informed the fellow officers, then turned to the detective interviewing the staff. Can I see the surveillance footage? The detective gave a nod before taking Barry to the console where a technician was reviewing the video footage. The technician obliged to their request by showing the footage. With the footage displayed on the screen, Barry scrutinized every frame with his lightning-fast perception. The video played. The museum was peaceful until the event happened. The footage showed the pod inside the display for a second, and next, a hole in the display glass and the pod missing. The technician slowed down that second until it was playing second by second. Barry had already noticed the inconsistency in the video. There was a single second missing in the video. It was when the crime had happened. The whole crime had taken less than a single second. The criminal had the ability to move at super speed, similar to him. Sir, the technician pointed at the screen. Barry and the detective focused on the screen, only to see a smoke trail writing. Catch me if you can, Flash. Winky face. I am telling you, this Flash will be the death of me. Captain Fry shouted. We already had our hands full with the Flash. Now we seem to have another one to give us a headache. Captain, please calm down, David said to the captain. David sighed as he took the captain out of the crime lab. He returned shortly after. He looked to Barry using the microscope to observe the cut on the display case. Barry, did you find something? He asked, his tiredness and frustration visible. Barry looked up from the microscope, his expression showing that he might have found something, but he was not sure of it. What is it, Barry? The glass was cut by something organic. That's all I can say, Barry shared his finding. Don't tell me it's one of those freaks, David sighed in frustration. Maybe, Barry replied. Keep working on it. David gave his words and moved on. Barry turned to the evidence on his table, his mind working at super speed to put together the clue. He now knew he might be working with a meta like himself. The sun hung low in the central city sky, casting a warm golden hue across the park. Zion, sitting on a weathered bench, basked in the gentle rays, his eyelids heavy with the promise of an impending yawn. With a soft sigh, he stretched his arms, a quiet yawn escaping his lips. Central City Park buzzed with activity around him. People strolled by, absorbed in their daily routines. Zion had decided today to be the day for his encounter with the fastest man alive. A sly grin tugged at the corner of his lips as he contemplated the intriguing encounter ahead. He even prepared a little something as a token of appreciation for the Scarlet Speedster. As the anticipation grew, Zion decided it was time to make the call. His hand slipped into the pocket of his trousers, retrieving an old-fashioned flip phone. He punched in a number, his fingers moving with ease. It rang just twice before a melodic feminine voice greeted him from the other end. Hello, this is the Central City Police Department. How can I help you? She asked, her tone polite and professional. Hello, good day to you, ma'am, Zion began, his voice laced with a hint of nervousness. Can I talk to Barry Allen from the forensics? A moment of hesitation followed before she inquired. Can I know why? Zion swallowed his nerves and replied, I am trying to contact him due to work stuff, work, and I need a professional opinion, something like consultation? Zion really sucked at telling lies, especially when he needed to make it up on the spot. Her response was measured. Well, I will inform him. Please wait for a moment. With the call put on hold, Zion's fingers drummed a soft rhythm on the bench's weathered wooden rails. His anticipation was palpable as he hummed a melodious tune under his breath while he waited. A few moments later, a more masculine voice broke the silence on the line. Hello? Hello, am I talking to Barry Allen? Zion asked, cautiously. Yes, this is Barry Allen. Who is this? Barry's voice held a note of curiosity. My name's Zion, Zion began, his tone casual yet enigmatic. I might know who took the worthy pod from the Central City Museum. Really? Barry's voice held a tinge of skepticism. Yes, Barry Allen, or should I say the Flash? Zion continued. His tone as light as if he was discussing the weather. You could say I have it with me here, at Central City Park. Silence hung in the air for a moment, a pause that stretched as Zion's heart skipped a beat. He cleared his throat. Hello, you there, mate? Yes, Barry answered, causing Zion to visibly relax. Ah, you are still connected. I am waiting at Central City Park, Zion suggested, his tone taking on a subtle hint of urgency. Yes, in a minute, Barry replied before ending the call. With the call concluded, Zion reached into a small bag and retrieved a handful of bird snacks. He scattered them around him, attracting the attention of the local pigeons. He leaned back, watching the birds with a sense of anticipation, knowing that soon he would be face to face with the fastest man alive. As Zion reclined on the bench, his attention still divided between the pigeons and the approaching rendezvous, a voice interrupted his contemplation. Is it you? The question came from a man with blonde hair, a chiseled jawline, and a clean-shaven face. His eyes held a mix of surprise and curiosity as he looked at Zion and the seemingly unremarkable clay pot resting beside him. Zion, fully aware of the man's identity but amused by the situation, decided to play along with a mischievous glint in his eyes. He straightened up, assuming a theatrical tone, and declared, Yes, it is I, Zion, here to give you a quest. Do you accept your mission, adventurer? Barry Allen, the Flash, blinked, clearly taken aback by the unexpected encounter and the theatrics. What? Zion couldn't help but chuckle at Barry's bewildered expression. Never mind. Just a joke. I should have gone with the CW version, he muttered under his breath. Barry's brow furrowed as he tried to make sense of the situation. What? No, give the worthy pot back. He pointed toward the clay pot beside Zion, his tone more urgent. Zion casually picked up the unassuming clay pot and examined it as if it were a mundane object. Oh, you want the clay pot? He asked, feigning ignorance as he pointed to it. Why do you need a mud pot, anyway? It doesn't even have magic like the myths claim. It's nothing but a ruse. Barry's skepticism remained, but he couldn't help but be intrigued by Zion's nonchalant attitude toward the supposed artifact. Really? He asked, raising an eyebrow. Zion nodded firmly. Absolutely. This is just some random piece of pottery that some guy probably made when he was drunk. The whole pot of power legend? It's nothing more than a silly tale etched on stone. Archaeologists should know better. Barry couldn't help but smile at the absurdity of the situation. It seemed that Central City was always full of surprises, and today was no exception. He reached out to take the clay pot back from Zion, his curiosity satisfied. Well, you certainly had me going there for a moment. Thanks for the entertainment. Zion, moved with lightning-quick reflexes, had deftly moved just out of Barry's reach. A playful grin crept across Zion's face, and he looked at Barry with a twinkle in his eyes. Barry, my guy, Zion began, his voice taking on a challenging tone. How about we make things a bit more interesting? Instead of handing over this mundane pot, how about a race? You and me. If you win, you get the pot. If I win, well, I get to say I raced the Flash. Chapter 15. 15. Race. Central City Park. You, me, a race to see who's the fastest? Zion issued the challenge with a mischievous grin across his face. However, before Barry could say anything, Zion tossed the worthy pot into the air. Barry was taken aback by the action but quickly moved to catch the worthy pot. He didn't want a relic to be destroyed before him. But when Barry turned to Zion, all he saw was a golden flash of light and the shout, Accelerate, XLR8. The light stunned him, and the slight daze caused him to lose the worthy pot. Now he saw who the thief was. It was an alien, semi-armored velociraptor with a black-blue color theme, a circular object with a golden hourglass symbol on its chest, and black orbs on its legs. See ya, Flash. The visor of XLR8's helmet slid down before he rushed out of the park into the city. Barry was not lagging behind. He quickly changed into his iconic spandex. He didn't know how the youngster had changed, but he needed to catch him. He quickly accelerated with incredible speed as he gave chase to the now alien speedster. The ordinary citizens in the park only experienced a slight wind trouble before everything returned to normal. They didn't know the incredible race between two speedsters had started. Zion, in the form of XLR8, sprinted through Central City at breakneck speed, weaving through the urban maze of towering skyscrapers and narrow alleyways with uncanny precision. The world around him slowed down to a standstill. Pedestrians only saw a black-blue blur as XLR8 whizzed past them like a fleeting breeze. The wind created by the sheer speed sent hats flying and billboards swaying dangerously. Zion accelerated. His rush through the Central City caused devastation with each step as with his speed. The ground trembled, traffic lights swung wildly, their wires snapping like thread in the gusty wind, the glass windows shattered, and the cars parked along the street were lifted off their wheels, their alarms blaring in protest. A cacophony of car alarms, sirens, and shattering glass filled the air, drowning out the collective gasps of the citizens. Zion's speed was causing havoc in the city. This was the level of destruction caused by a speedster if they ever ran at full speed inside a city. They would only leave destruction in their wake. But Zion wanted to prove something to the citizens and, yes you, that a speedster was capable of causing destruction with each of their steps. He wanted Flash to realize how powerful he is at the start of his hero career. And Zion didn't have to wait long for the Scarlet Speedster. It only took a moment for the Flash to catch up to him. In the world of stillness, only a man in red spandex moved at incredible speed, his trademark red costume with a lightning bolt embalmed in it. He quickly caught up with Zion, running side by side, his eyes showing agitation. "Stop this. You are destroying the city," Barry shouted. He could see the destruction they were causing. To catch up to this alien speedster, he was using more speed than what he normally used inside a city, and with each step, he broke the pavement, shattered glasses, lifted vehicles, and knocked people out. Even though he never felt any air resistance when he was running, that never meant his speed didn't cause adverse effects. "You understand, Flash. The power that was bestowed upon you." Zion turned to Flash, skating backward. Kinecelerons evolved for quick and precise movement, allowing them to make sharp turns, run horizontally, even run backward. They evolved to run. "You could be stronger, a god among men. Why do you choose to be a servant?" "Because great power comes with responsibilities." Flash closed in on XLR8, extending his hand to grab this alien's shoulders. But XLR8, with his exceptional reflexes, anticipated the move. He twisted and turned, narrowly avoiding the Flash's grasp. Zion quickly changed direction and took off. With a burst of speed, Flash again caught up with XLR8. The chase continued through Central City, with two speedsters weaving between cars, leaping over obstacles, and darting through narrow alleys. The Flash was relentless, determined to catch his elusive opponent, while XLR8 used his superior agility to stay one step ahead. XLR8, now in the lead, showed off his agility by leaping onto the side of a skyscraper and then rebounded off it, propelling himself even faster. The Flash, undeterred, ran up the side of the building, using the structure as a springboard to launch himself toward XLR8. It was a breathtaking display of acrobatics and speed. Seeing the Flash closing in, XLR8 executed a sudden spin, creating a miniature tornado around himself. The swirling winds made it difficult for the Flash to maintain his course. However, the Scarlet Speedster responded by creating a vortex of his own, countering XLR8's move with a gust of wind that dispersed the tornado. With them evenly matched, the race continued through Central City, occasionally leaving shockwaves in their wake. The Flash knew he had to think strategically. He anticipated XLR8's move, predicting a sudden change in direction. When it came, the Flash mirrored the move flawlessly, gaining ground on his opponent. In a daring maneuver, he stretched his arm forward once more, fingertips grazing XLR8's shoulder. For a split second, it seemed like the Flash had the upper hand. But XLR8, with a burst of speed, retaliated with a spin, his tail snapping like a whip. XLR8's timing was impeccable, leaving no way for the Flash to avoid it. The tail made contact, delivering a glancing blow that sent the Flash spinning through the air. The Scarlet Speedster tumbled and crashed into a nearby car, deforming it in an instant. The car frame was distorted, its windows shattering into a million pieces. With the Flash momentarily incapacitated, XLR8 hovered over him, his voice distorted by the whir of his super speed. "Yes, great power comes with responsibility. But who can stop the fastest man alive if no one can catch him?" Flash might be the strongest character in the DC universe next to Superman. His speed and versatility allow him to defeat many foes stronger than him, but he never fully realized his full potential in other subskills except running through time itself. This is also why Wally West was considered one of the strongest Flashes. His dexterity with the Speed Force actually gave him an advantage, such as creating his suit with pure Speed Force. He had explored many different ways to use the Speed Force. Barry grunted as he looked up. He had let his guard down. He felt a crippling pain from his left ribs. He could also feel his bones healing. He looked at the alien who was questioning him after breaking his bones, but he could also feel the underlying curiosity in its voice. "I am a hero because I wanted to help the innocent. I do it because I want to. I don't want anyone to suffer injustice," Flash answered. XLR8's visor slid up, revealing his face, and Barry could see a smile on its lips. "Well, Flash, are you sure that is what you want to do? Even though you might have to sacrifice everything you cherish to protect others?" Barry answered immediately. "Yes." Zion got the answer he wanted. He placed the pot next to Flash. He never needed the pot anyway. He then pointed his clawed hand at Flash's lightning bolt. "Use your power. Focus on the lightning coursing through your cells, blood, bones. Guide them toward your injuries." The lightning not only gave you the ability to run fast, it was more than that. So, use it to accelerate your already accelerated healing. Barry looked at the alien, puzzled at how he knew all this. "How do you know this?" "Flash, I am from a species that evolved to move at supersonic speeds." "Then there you are, who possesses the connection to the force that allows you to run at speeds that we dream of," Zion explained. "I know all about speed. I evolved to run." Barry listened to the explanation and decided to try and focus his speed force where it hurt. He could feel a rush, and the pain slowly vanished. In a minute, his pain reduced to a bearable level, skipping the months of hospitalization needed for a normal human. Siren sound blaring. Zion turned to the expected arrival of the CCPD, ready to apprehend the speedsters causing havoc. The cars blocked both sides of the road, Officers quickly exited their cars and pointed their guns at them. Zion was baffled, so he decided to speak. All of you do know that we could literally catch bullets, right? The officers looked at each other at the question. They were baffled by the scene in front of them. First, they were here to catch the Flash and whatever he was chasing. Second, they never expected to find a velociraptor. Third, they never expected the velociraptor to talk to them. Did the dinosaur just speak? One of the officers asked his partner. I think so, his partner replied. Oh, come on, don't be racist, Zion groaned. Sorry. The officer apologized. He wasn't even sure why he apologized. Apology accepted, officer, Zion nodded. Now, who is your clan leader? I would like to have a diplomatic relationship with your species. Clan leader? You mean country leader? It's the president. You would have to talk to him, the officer replied. His gun still pointed at XLR-8. Okay, I shall speak to him then. Adios, amigos. With that, Zion vanished. This left the Flash confused. They just had a race, but before it was completed, he was beaten. Then the guy asked questions. Then he told the police that he was here for diplomatic purposes before vanishing. The whole thing was just confusing. What was the whole purpose of it all? Was it just another bizarre day? Stay down, Flash. The officers snapped out of their daze and realized they were fooled. But they quickly gathered themselves and decided to arrest the Flash, who looked to be in not the best of conditions. Flash looked at the officers, his smile wry. He couldn't believe it. He who tried to protect the people of the city was at gunpoint. Flash slowly got up with his hands up in surrender. Do not make any sudden movement, the officer shouted before he walked to the Flash to handcuff him. Even though it sounded stupid to cuff someone who could run faster than the fastest missiles, it was what they did. Hi there, officer. A voice stopped him. It was Zion. Can I ask which direction to your world leader? Zion asked with a sheepish expression. The officer was dumbstruck. At this point, the poor man wanted to just quit the job. He was trained to catch street criminals, not speak to super-speed dinosaurs. He was already having mental breakdown from all the bizarre things happening in the city for the past few days. Zion didn't care about the officer's mental stability as he accelerated his speed until everything just froze. He then turned to Flash, who was also looking at him with a smile. Barry was feeling amused due to Zion's actions. Zion then gestured with his head to go, and Barry gave an acknowledging nod before they both vanished from the crime scene. Damn them! The dumbstruck officer only realized too late that he was played, again. He threw his hat to the ground in frustration and stomped the ground a few times in frustration. The police with no criminal to catch were left to clean up the mess. They also finally retrieved the worthy pot. Chapter 16:16. Nightmare. So, he tried to use kryptonite against you? And you found out that you are immune to kryptonite? Zion asked. Kara just nodded in reply before lifting the piece of kryptonite she held in her hand. Zion looked at the kryptonite and then at Kara. It didn't seem to be affecting her. Her complexion remained rosy even though she was gripping the kryptonite in her hand. No visible pain or anything. He had a theory about why it was not affecting her, but he still needed evidence to prove his theory. He then turned to Metallo. The cyborg laid lifeless on his table. After removing his power source, he shut down in few minutes. What do you want me to do with him? Zion asked, pointing at Metallo. I don't know, Kara shrugged. I thought you would know. Zion lifted an eyebrow. You didn't ask Superman? No, Kara shook her head. He will just put him in jail, and I don't think any jail could hold this guy for long. His strength was comparable to a Kryptonian soldier with low-level battle armor. I know about Metallo, Zion showed a bored expression. He is one of Sup's eternal enemies. Named Johan Corbin. Cyborg with a human brain and a mechanical body powered by kryptonite. He changed into a cyborg after a fatal accident. Kara listened attentively. Learning about Kal-El's villains would help her in the future. She would also be prepared to deal with them when the time comes again. What do you want me to do with him? Zion asked the question again. Can't you stop him from terrorizing ever again? Kara asked. You could have just fried his brain for that. When you called in the late hours, I was excited to meet you. But you want me to babysit a villain? Zion asked. His shoulder hung in a dejected manner. Kara just gave him a blank stare, causing Zion to groan before he walked to his workbench. Both of them were in the warehouse Zion brought in Metropolis. The equipment and the materials he ordered, using the money borrowed from Batman, had arrived the next day. He immediately set them up to start building the prototype version of the atomic engine. He needed to demonstrate it when Batman calls, eventually, after all his investigations. Zion was even sure that Batman might be hanging around the warehouse. He was also just waiting for a nosy protege to come sniffing around. Zion walked around, gathering some tools to work with, and walked back to the cyborg laying dead. Zion placed the tools next to the cyborg. He lifted his left hand and started operating the Omnitrix. Should I use an upgrade to disconnect him internally? Or should I use gray matter? Brainstorm could be of assistance, but he is not much use in this situation. What about Jury Rig? He will break the cyborg to build a new one. Should I change into some unexplored forms? Zion muttered to himself before he selected to go with the OG. Zion pressed the side of the Omnitrix, and the faceplate slid back, showing the Omnitrix core. Zion pressed it fast yet softly. Upgrade. With a flash of golden light, Zion turned into a galvanic mechamorph. He didn't delay and quickly started his fusion. Metallo's silver surface quickly became black, and green circuit lines quickly surrounded it. Zion got full control of Metallo's body within few seconds, unlike the normal hard procedures of combating for control with the cyborg's conscious. He could see that Metallo seemed to be in a state of hibernation after his kryptonite core was removed to keep him from dying. He then quickly disconnected the links to his brain, except for the life support. He formed his head above Metallo's torso, then he morphed a hand and extended it to Kara. Kryptonite, his synthetic voice asked with mechanical coldness. Kara placed the kryptonite in his hand. Zion quickly pulled back his hand and placed the power source back and connected all the important connections. He then controlled Metallo to stand up. Metallo's body morphed. His skeleton-like face gained more dimensions as it turned into a menacing face with eerie green glowing eyes. His arms gained a more buff appearance, with green circuit lines covering his whole body. Zion lifted his Metallo's hand, and a sharp force blade formed on his elbow using kryptonite's energy. He then changed the blade to a blaster, then to a gun and finally a bazooka. He changed the cyborg's body into many structures. He could even build a jetpack on his back. Kara just watched from the sideline. She waited for Zion to finish his work. But suddenly, Zion pointed his hand at Kara, his hand turning into a gun. The green glow of the muzzle showed it was fully charged with kryptonite energy. Kara looked at Zion's mechanical form, unfazed. Her eyes remained fixed on Zion. Zion pulled the trigger. LexCorp. Lex Luthor's office. The spacious office of Lex Luthor, adorned with sleek modern decor, overlooks Metropolis through floor-to-ceiling windows. Luthor sat behind his imposing desk, engrossed in his work. His secretary approached him with steady steps. "Sir, we've confirmed that there is indeed another superhero in town, and she wears an S on her chest," she informed, her words calm, showing no sign of haste. Luthor raised an eyebrow. His interest piqued. He turned and gave his full attention to his secretary. Lex leaned back in his chair. "A female Superman, you say? That's quite intriguing indeed. Tell me everything we know." The secretary tapped her tablet for a minute before retrieving the file on the new superhero and handed it to Luthor. He began to peruse the documents inside. His secretary continued as Lex reviewed the documents. Her identity is still unknown, but they call her Supergirl. She possesses powers similar to Superman: super strength, flight, heat vision, and more. She's been spotted saving civilians, thwarting criminals, and generally performing acts of heroism. Lex Luthor chuckled. "Ah, another Kryptonian. How intriguing. I always knew there would be more of them out there." "And her intentions?" His secretary hesitated before answering. "From what we've gathered, Mr. Luthor, she seems genuinely interested in protecting Metropolis and doing good deeds. She's gaining quite the following among citizens. But from what we've gathered, she is quite unrestrained. She broke bones of criminals if they threatened civilians." Lex set the tablet down, his grin fading as he contemplated this new development. Lex Luthor said pensively, "Well, it appears we have a new player on the board, a wild card. Keep a close eye on this Supergirl. Gather every piece of information we can find. We may just have a use for her in the near future." His secretary nodded, understanding the gravity of her task. Lex Luthor leaned forward, his eyes fixated on the cityscape beyond, as he contemplated the possibilities brought by this new player. Zion's warehouse. Kara looked at Zion, unbothered, her eyes never leaving him. Zion had pulled the trigger, firing a beam of condensed kryptonite energy, but it just brushed past her hair, not cutting a single strand. If it were Superman in her place, he would have moved and punched Zion, as the concentrated beam of kryptonite energy was as lethal as a bullet to humans. Not to Kara, but it would have definitely stung if it had hit. Zion lowered his hand and turned to the table. He then ended his fusion, removing himself from Metallo's body and transforming back. "Why didn't you move?" Zion asked. "You didn't aim at me," Kara gave a short answer. Zion nodded. "I disconnected his connection so he won't be of danger anymore." "Okay, then I will leave him to you," Kara said before turning to leave. Zion looked at her back but didn't stop her from leaving. Kara then flew out of the ceiling window and left the building. Zion slowly turned to Metallo's body. This villain, who always got defeated by Superman, could be of use to him. His cybernetics were trash, but he could upgrade them to be more efficient, more lethal. His mind raced as he thought of all the upgrades he could give this villain to help him fight Superman. Kent Farmhouse. The sun had set over the tranquil Kent farm in Smallville. The rustic farmhouse stood tall, bathed in the soft glow of the silver moon. The front door slowly opened, and Kara stepped inside, her face still looking fresh, but tiredness was visible in her eyes. Martha Kent, a loving and wise woman in her late 60s, sat in the living room by the fireplace, knitting a scarf. She glanced up as she heard the door close, her eyes lighting up with warmth and recognition. "Kara, you're back. How was your day?" Martha asked with a warm smile. "It was good," Kara replied. She was still a little awkward around Martha. Kara felt grateful toward Martha for giving her a place to stay and sleep. Being in a new place made her a bit awkward at first, but Martha quickly warmed up to her. Her motherly vibe and calm demeanor reminded her a bit of her father and mother. Kara's mother was always strict with her, and her father doted on her the most. "Did you have trouble at work?" Martha asked, clearly picking up on the underlying tired tone in Kara's voice. "No, the day was normal," Kara answered. "Normal for a Kryptonian, that is." "Okay, go freshen up. I will reheat the dinner." Martha gave Kara a final glance before turning back to her knitting. Kara quickly crossed the living room and took the stairs to her room. It was the room the Kents had arranged for her to stay. Kara opened her room, and a fresh scent of flowers wafted into her nose. The room didn't have many things in it as it was quickly arranged for her to stay in. A large enough bed for her to stay comfortably, a closet, and a table with a night lamp next to her bed. The room was empty for the rest of it, and Kara was okay with it. Kara walked to her closet and retrieved her folded towel, and walked into her bathroom to get refreshed. A few moments later, Kara walked out in a big white t-shirt with an S on it and blue shorts with white stripes. The t-shirt was a spare Martha bought when Superman became famous. It was a little reminder of the time when Superman was running around in a t-shirt and jeans. Kara then hung her dress carefully in the closet. This was the only reminder left of her world, and looking at the symbol on her chest also reminded her of duty. She closed the closet, sealing away her dress and duty. She wanted to relax a bit when she was at home, instead of running around like a certain big boy. He was always in work mode due to him flying around the world to save people. Kara then left her room and headed downstairs. She moved to the kitchen to find Martha setting the dinner table. The scent of freshly baked bread and roasted chicken filled the air. "Feeling better?" Martha asked, her infectious warm smile on her lips. Kara gave a nod. "Yes, much better, Martha." "Thank you." Martha placed a plate of food in front of Kara, and they sat down together, sharing a meal filled with comfort and love. In this moment, two women found solace in each other's company. Chapter 1717. Batman and Robin. Hi, it is I. I am here again to thank Tyrantron 335 for reviewing this novel. Thank you, mate. Oh, D. And thank you for the comments, Wolf Lord. Man, I only work on these chapter daily because of the comments, which make this story alive. And I would very much like to know which direction you want the story to go. I need ideas. I am running out of them. Just kidding, but it would really help. And on note, I will focus on writing Zion's side of the story for the next chapters. Not because I want to neglect Kara, but I don't know how to write a female character well. So, if I have any female reader, please give me a bit of insight. Sorry for keeping you here. Thank you for reading this far. Upright arrow. Gotham. Gotham City was cloaked in the darkness of night, its towering skyscrapers casting long shadows over the bustling streets below. High above, perched on a rooftop, was Robin, vigilant as ever. The rooftop offered a perfect vantage point to observe his mentor as he prowled the city below. He had been keeping a watchful eye on Batman, his mentor and partner, for a few days now. At first, he thought that his partner was just getting increasingly stressed, but as he observed more, something was deeply amiss. Batman had always been a paragon of control and discipline, but lately, Robin had noticed troubling changes. The Caped Crusader's actions were growing more erratic, his movements more unpredictable, and his methods more brutal. It was as if a shadow had fallen over his once unwavering resolve. Robin had observed Batman chasing down criminals with a relentless determination that bordered on recklessness. His vigilantism seemed to have taken on a new edge, pushing the boundaries of his code. Gotham's rogues were no match for the fury that emanated from the Dark Knight. But it wasn't just the intensity of Batman's crime fighting that raised red flags for Robin. There were whispers in the underworld, rumors of unusual activities and strange alliances. And then there were Batman's unexplained visits to Metropolis, a city with its own share of heroes and mysteries. With a heavy heart, Robin knew he had to confront Batman about this transformation, and he knew that the time had come to address Batman about his peculiar behavior. With a mixture of concern and determination, he tracked the Caped Crusader to a secluded rooftop where the night's events had brought him face to face with a group of criminals. As Batman swiftly subdued the thugs, breaking spirits and bones, Robin seized the moment to approach his mentor. With the darkened skyline as their backdrop, Robin spoke up, his voice laced with unease. "Batman," he began, "we need to talk. You've been acting strangely lately, and I've noticed you making frequent trips to Metropolis. Is there something you're not telling me?" Batman turned to face his young protégé, his mask hiding his expression, but his eyes revealed a hint of uncertainty. "It's nothing, Robin," he replied in his deep gravelly voice. "Just business. Gotham needs me, that's all." Robin wasn't convinced, and he took a step closer. "I've been your partner for a long time now, and I know when something's bothering you. This isn't just about Gotham, is it? Please, tell me what's going on." A tense silence hung in the air as Batman considered his response. He knew he couldn't keep his partner completely in the dark, but the weight of the secret he carried was immense. Finally he spoke. "Robin, there are things I can't share right now. It's not about trust, it's about protecting you." Robin's concern deepened, but he respected Batman's need for secrecy. He knew that his mentor had his reasons, even if he couldn't fathom them at the moment. With a nod of acknowledgement, Robin watched as Batman turned away, his cape billowing in the wind as he disappeared into the Gotham night. As Batman disappeared into Gotham's night, Robin was left with a gnawing sense of unease. He couldn't simply accept Batman's vague explanation, not when the city's safety and their partnership were at stake. The relentless pursuit of truth was ingrained in him, just as it was in Batman. Determined to uncover the source of Batman's unease, Robin decided to take matters into his own hands. He knew that his mentor's secrets were guarded by the high-tech wonders of the Batcave, but that wouldn't deter him. He had learned from the best, after all. Silently, Robin descended from the rooftop and made his way back to Wayne Manor, where the Batcave lay hidden beneath. The entrance was concealed, but Robin knew the security codes and had access to the cavernous underground lair. Once inside, he observed that Batman had acquired a new Batcomputer, a sleek and advanced machine that seemed out of place next to the older, perfectly functional one. The oddity of this new addition only fueled Robin's determination. Robin couldn't resist the urge to investigate. He sat down at the new console and began to search for any clues that could explain Batman's recent behavior. The computer's interface was unfamiliar, but Robin's tech-savvy skills allowed him to navigate it with ease. Minutes turned into hours as Robin delved into the digital realm of the Batcomputer, sifting through data and surveillance feeds, trying to piece together the puzzle. He knew he was treading on thin ice, and if Batman were to discover his intrusion, it could jeopardize their partnership. Then something caught his eye, a folder with an enigmatic name buried deep within the system. The folder was encrypted with the highest level of security, a testament to Batman's caution. It was clear that whatever secrets it held were meant to remain hidden. With a sense of trepidation, Robin initiated the decryption process, knowing that he was about to unearth a truth that could change everything. The soft hum of the Batcave's technology filled the air as he waited for the decryption to finish. The seconds ticked by like an eternity as Robin anxiously awaited the decryption of the enigmatic folder. The Batcave, bathed in the eerie glow of the Batcomputer's monitors, seemed to hold its breath alongside him. The folder was named Project Nightfall, a name that sent shivers down his spine. Finally, the encryption yielded, and the folder's contents were unveiled. What Robin saw on the screen left him stunned. It contained a trove of information, documents, and photographs that seemed to be part of a meticulously kept secret. The documents revealed that Batman had been conducting a covert investigation into a new and powerful criminal organization that had recently taken root in Gotham City. The photographs showed the faces of key players, some of whom were prominent figures in the city's political and business circles. But what sent a chill down Robin's spine was a series of notes and files detailing a plan that involved not only Gotham but also Metropolis. It appeared that Batman had been gathering intelligence on a sinister plot that had the potential to affect both cities on an unprecedented scale. Robin's mind raced as he absorbed the weight of the situation. The darkness that had consumed Batman was not a personal crisis but a response to a grave threat that had pushed him to his limits. The information he had uncovered raised more questions than answers, but one thing was clear. Gotham was in danger, and Batman had been keeping the truth hidden to protect Robin and the city. Just as Robin was grappling with the enormity of the revelation, the Batcomputer's alert system pinged. It was a notification that Batman was returning to the Batcave. Panic set in as Robin quickly tried to close the folder and erase any traces of his intrusion. He knew that revealing his discovery now could jeopardize their mission. With the folder securely hidden again, Robin returned to the console's main screen, feigning ignorance as Batman entered the Batcave. The caped Crusader's stern visage remained unchanged, but there was a sense of relief in his eyes as he looked at Robin. "Is everything okay?" Batman asked, his voice measured. Robin hesitated for a moment, then replied, "Yeah, Batman, everything's fine. I was just checking the new Batcomputer. It's impressive, but I don't get why you got another one when the old one works fine." "Technical issues," Batman gave a short answer. With Batman's return to the Batcave, Robin felt the weight of the truth pressing upon him. He had uncovered a web of secrets that reached far beyond Gotham's familiar villains. The folder named Project Nightfall contained a plan that threatened both their city and Metropolis, a plan that Batman had been silently battling. As the Batcomputer screens displayed the usual data and surveillance feeds, Robin fought to keep his voice steady. "Batman," he began cautiously, "there's something I need to tell you." Batman turned to Robin, his expression still masked by the cowl, but his eyes revealing a flicker of curiosity. "What is it, Robin?" With a deep breath, Robin explained, "I couldn't ignore your strange behavior any longer, so I started digging. I found a folder in the Batcomputer, Project Nightfall. It's about this criminal organization and their plans that involve both Gotham and Metropolis." A tense silence enveloped the Batcave as Batman absorbed Robin's revelation. The truth was out, and Robin couldn't predict how Batman would react. Would he be angry at the intrusion, or would he acknowledge that they needed to confront this threat together? After what felt like an eternity, Batman finally spoke, his voice grave. "You shouldn't have gone through my files, Robin, but I understand why you did. This is bigger than I imagined. However, I want you out of this." "Why?" Even though Robin felt relief that his mentor finally acknowledged the severity of the situation, he didn't understand why he wanted him to be out of it. Robin, as his partner of years, had proven his skills more than once. "I have something else assigned for you," Batman stated. Robin met Batman's gaze, his attention drawn. "What is it, Batman?" Batman turned to the Batcomputer and proceeded to navigate through the interface with a natural ease. Robin walked next to Batman and observed the Batcomputer. Batman opened a folder named Zion. Robin's curiosity was piqued. He quickly scanned the information in the folder, only to be more confused as he read through. The file was incomplete, but from what he read, this target might be a superpowered villain. "He has shown interest in working with us," Batman explained. He then opened the digital blueprint of the atomic engine. "You will meet with him to talk about business as Robin and my adopted son. You will be in contact with him until the project is finished, and I also want you to evaluate him in your own way. This is your mission for the time being." Chapter 18. Robin meets Metropolis. The early morning sun filtered through the window, casting a warm glow on the small, sparsely furnished room. Hoo 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 hoo. Zion's breathing filled the room. His muscles strained as he pressed his body up from the floor, one push-up at a time. Beads of sweat glistened on his forehead as he pushed himself harder. With each repetition, his mind grew more focused, his determination unwavering. He had come a long way from the lost, troubled teenager he used to be. Now he had a purpose, a goal to accomplish. The memories of his many counterparts. No, they were not his counterparts. Even though they were similar, they were vastly different from each other. They were not counterparts, but all of them were connected in a hive mind, yet possessing unique personalities. They all share memories that would help the other, memories of who they were and how they could grow stronger in any environment. And the memories gained showed that they were each a unique link in a massive chain, connecting across the omniverse. Some might say his personality had been altered due to the massive memories, but for Zion, it was like a missing piece of the puzzle getting filled. The eons of memories gave him much knowledge, and the memories also gave him a guide, a direction to proceed. For now, he was building his body to be a weapon, and many martial arts from the memories had already made him unmatched in hand-to-hand combat, but a sword needed to be sharp for a swordsman to use. So, his self-transformation began. His muscles were worked efficiently to sharpen them faster than any traditional method. His once thin and unattractive body now looked sharp and muscular, with the cut of his abs slowly forming. If you were to look at him, you would think of a thin Bruce Lee, because his puny muscles still needed more mass. Just as Zion was about to complete another grueling set of push-ups, his phone vibrated on the wooden floor beside him. He rose from the push-up position, grabbed the phone, and answered without checking the caller ID. Hello. Hey there, it's me, Dick, a voice came through the phone. Zion's heart skipped a beat. Dick Grayson, or Robin, had called him, which meant that Batman had finally agreed to his deal. The week-long wait had finally paid off, but he wanted to mess with Robin for his mentor's delay. Dick who? Sorry, I think you have the wrong number, Zion answered, a mischievous smile creeping up his lips. There was a pause on the other end. Wait, this is Zion's number, right? Yes, I am Zion. But who are you? Zion asked. Zion. It's Robin. Batman asked me to complete the deal for the project, Robin answered. Sorry, Robin? Batman? I think you've got the person wrong, Zion replied. He wanted to keep messing with Robin. No, I'm pretty sure you know who you're talking to. After all, your smile shows that you're just messing with me, Robin replied. The reply caused Zion to turn and look at his balcony. He could see a teen waving at him from the opposite building, binoculars in his hand. He could feel the smug grin on his lips. Robin had found out where he lived. But was he trying to hide where he lived? No, he welcomed all those who would try to attack him. He would have taught those unfortunate souls a way to self-transformation. Zion shed his smile. His voice was serious. Meet me down in 15. He ended the call before moving to freshen up. With a quick bath and change of clothes, Zion was ready to meet Robin. Batman probably sent Robins to keep an eye on him or to test Robin. But I don't care, Zion muttered as he closed the door to his abode. With a quick elevator ride, he was on the ground floor, coming eye to eye with Batman's protege. Zion quickly analyzed Robin. Robin looked to be about 16. Tell me if I got his age wrong, his raven black hair meticulously styled. His piercing blue eyes seemed to hold a hint of intensity and determination. He wore a fitted black leather jacket that complemented his athletic build, a pair of new jeans, and a dark gray t-shirt that hinted at his casual yet practical fashion sense. His sneakers were new and seemed to have been bought recently. He had worn a fresh yet casual outfit for their meeting. Zion was satisfied that the boy wonder didn't come wearing a full suit. For Zion's outfit, he wore a baggy white t-shirt and black jeans. His style matched well with his watch. None would find the watch mismatched. Zion walked past Robin. Let's talk over a meal. Robin didn't reply but followed. Zion got to the park and got into his car, and Robin got into the passenger seat. Nice car, Robin complimented as he got into the car. Thanks, Zion replied as he started the engine. Are you angered that I came without informing? Robin asked. He was instructed to complete the deal with this person, and he couldn't mess it up. Batman instructed that he complete the deal without trouble. He had only arrived a day ago and watched this person from afar. From all he had learned, the person next to him was lazy but not at the same time. He would do intense workouts, do something in his warehouse for hours, then sleep. He slouched around most days like everything bored him. No, hungry, need food, Zion answered. He was feeling hungry after the intense workout. His hunger grew to a bestial level after his shower. He was growing hungrier by the minute. So, he didn't waste any more time as he drove the car to his now favorite diner for a juicy meal. Okay. Robin remained silent for the rest of the journey. AH. That hits the spot, Zion exclaimed as he rubbed his belly. Robin sat opposite Zion, his face blank, revealing no emotions. But he felt a little shocked when he saw Zion chomp down dish after dish. Zion had eaten an ungodly amount of food, the pile of plates next to him a testament to it. He just strolled into Bibbo's and ordered nearly everything on the menu, then devoured the food like a glutton. Zion had a blissful expression as he rubbed his belly. His hunger satisfied. He was feeling hungry because of the technique he was practicing. It was not from this multiversal bubble. He had learned it from his memories. Even though it wouldn't increase his power substantially, it would increase his metabolism and growth. Can we start our conversation now that you've finished eating? Robin began. I want to know more about the applications of your tech. Zion looked at Robin. His eyes half closed slothfully. I already made it clear to your father about it, and I also gave him a blueprint. Zion closed his eyes, feeling sleepy after a good meal. He didn't want to think of annoying things right now. Yes, I checked the blueprint, but there were some important parts missing, Robin pointed. How can we trust that you would deliver results or even not go behind our backs when you hide the details? Gray. I will call you Gray because calling you Dick doesn't sit well. So Gray, the atomic engine is high-level energy technology that could power the whole country without producing any nuclear waste. Zion opened his eyes, getting serious about the issue. If I just wanted the money, I could sell it to any corporation. What I wanted was assurance that my tech never falls into the wrong hands. Do you know how much destruction an atomic engine the size of 1,000 cubic centimeters could cause? You can just forget about Gotham and its surrounding from the face of the planet. Robin listened silently. He could say that Zion was being genuine, but he didn't trust him as Batman's file clearly stated that he was a good deceiver. At the same time, Robin knew what he said about the destructive power of the engine is true. The amount of energy produced by an atomic engine, in theory, could power the whole of the United States for a whole century, depending on its size. This would also revolutionize many other industries that were very dependent on energy. But we still have to trust you to make it. I want to be sure that this will not bring troubles in the future. Since you are here to make a deal, I am pretty sure Batman accepted my proposal. You pay me a labor fee for building my atomic engine. No one else's. You understand. Zion point. His voice showed he was not going to change his demands. Or else you can forget about it. I will just sell it to another company. Maybe Lex Luthor will be interested. Robin flinched slightly. Very slightly. He knew about Lex, and he didn't have a good impression of the guy. Lex was arrogant, narcissistic, and selfish. That man was the exact opposite of Bruce. Both were highly intelligent men, but both walked the opposite path. Lex wanted to prove that he was better than anyone while thinking everyone was beneath him. But I don't like Lex Luthor. He is one of the types I hate the most. Intellectual and cunning, one hard type to deal with, unless you are Superman, of course. Zion knew that Batman had already agreed to the deal. He just sent Robin to inform and for some other motive, but he didn't care. Zion would now have an income from the Wayne Corporation, not including the money he was stealing. Robin gave a nod. Okay, I will inform Batman that you choose to work with us. The materials you need will be provided by Wayne Corporation. So where and when will you make the atomic engine? I can build it in my warehouse, but I'd like to use the devices in the cave to build it, Zion answered. That can be arranged, Robin replied. Zion working in the Batcave would enable them to keep an eye on him, reducing the danger factor. Robin also intended on helping Batman with the new thugs that had risen in Gotham, but he needed to keep an eye on this guy. Okay then, the deal is done. With that, Zion got up and extended his hand. Nice to make your acquaintance. Likewise, Robin responded as he gave a firm handshake. Meet you later, Robin. Zion walked past Robin and quickly exited the diner. Robin also got ready to leave as he picked up his jacket, but he felt a hand on his shoulder. Robin slowly turned back to see it was a waiter, and he had a warm smile and a bill on his hand, which he gave it to Robin. Robin felt a bad premonition as he took the bill. He quickly opened it to find the amount, only for his eyes to widen slowly. The bill was for $3,000, an exorbitant amount for a normal employee to spend on a meal, but Robin was getting pocket money from Bruce and Bruce would cover his expenses for the meeting, so he paid it and exited the diner. Robin scanned the street, but there was no figure of Zion in sight. The guy had dined and dashed. He couldn't believe that a guy who had tech far more advanced than current, but he dined and dashed. What the hell was wrong with the guy? Ah, free food always tastes better, Zion grinned as he drove his car. Chapter 19. Zion's plan. Zion happily returned to his warehouse, his fortress. Zion's car rolled in without a sound, and the shutter closed behind him, cutting him off from the rest of the world. Zion got out of the car and looked at his new lab, filled with various machines to the brim. The rest of the machines and materials he ordered had arrived a few days early. Now, he had started his projects in full swing. First, he turned around and opened the hood of his car and looked at the 4-cylinder engine he had created using spare parts from the junkyard. But now he had the means to create something more amazing. He wanted to create something similar to the Allspark and turn his car into a transformer. Think about a cool way it would transform behind you, and you can say, mine are bigger. Talking about guns, begone dirty thoughts. It would take only a moment to design the blueprint with Brainstorm's processing capabilities, but building it would take too much time. Creating it is also a pain. Thinking of all the intricate mechanisms to create gave him headache. And he knew a faster way to make it, however. It's not on Earth. He would need to start an interstellar exploration to find it. The living metal or nth metal is not found on Earth in much quantity. He needed tons of it. Then he needed to use it to make transformium. And the required tech. He was planning to steal it from a specific old group of the universe. That conquering species is really stubborn on capturing planets, but their tech had more potential than anything. With their tech, the car would become something more. With those thoughts, Zion decided to give a few upgrades to the car for now. He already had the energy supply to make his car into a transformer. Even if it's a pain, how could he let his child self down? He was going to build the transformer anyway. But before that, he turned to the display hangar where a menacing robot hung. The face looked like a ghostly skull, with a slight greenish metallic shine. Its eyeballs dim, its nose hollow, its naked teeth sharp. Just the face itself would make a grown man cry. Then there was its body, covered in green-black armor with an edgy design. The robot looked like a final boss from Dark Souls. The cyborg was the literal definition of an undead knight. He also equipped a giant sword next to him. This cyborg was Metallo. Zion has been upgrading his system and looks for a day now. He was taking it slow. Metallo's heart was upgraded to be more efficient in using green kryptonite radiation, and he could also harness it to make energy-based weapons. His arms could turn into a cannon, a short blade, and a morning star. He also installed some other surprises. The sword was a tech that used kryptonite energy to create its sharp edge. The sword could cut through concrete like butter. It could also shoot a beam of kryptonite energy, or an arc of energy. Think of it as a fantasy magic sword, but powered by kryptonite. The upgraded Metallo could give Superman a run for his money. He had kryptonite energy blast, shields, and much more. Then there was his sword, which could inflict wounds that won't heal by normal means. Superman would have a tough fight if he were to fight Metallo now, maybe even lose some limbs. He was planning to use Metallo for something that will elevate his status in a certain circle. Zion looked at Metallo for a minute before he moved on to a suitcase situated on his work table. Zion moved to look at the suitcase which contained the fabric that he was going to use for his hero costume. The material of the fabric was similar to Batman's bulletproof cape, flexible yet resilient. He was going to build the tuxedo. It was one of his favorite movies. The super tech suit that could give semi-superpowers to anyone who wore it. Think about putting the suit in combat mode, and it would whoop everyone's behind. It was one of childhood dreams to own a suit like that, and now he could build one himself. This suit will be stored in the museum in the far future as a legendary suit. The most relative tech to the suit would be Batman Beyond's suit. Zion took the fabric back into the suitcase. It was time to start making the suit. Zion then looked at his Omnitrix. It was time to bring in some workers. Zion quickly moved his right hand and selected his alien. He then immediately pressed the Omnitrix core. Golden flash. Echo echo. Zion's body shrank into that of a white humanoid alien. The alien had green eyes, a speaker-like mouth, and black lines on his chest. Thick black lines outlined his eyes and mouth. His back had a structure that resembled an MP3 player on his back connected to the earphones covering his ears. Echo Echo didn't wait and cloned himself into three. The three of them then lifted their hands and pointed at each other accusingly. They narrowed their eyes as they scrutinized each other. The tension rose, and the silence was stifling before all three of them burst out laughing. Let's stop goofing around. They stopped playing around and twisted the Omnitrix on their chest to a 90 degrees, and without a word, they slammed it at the same time. The blinding golden light, and when it died down, there were three Zions standing smiling at each other. They just looked at each other for a second before moving to their sections. One turned into Jury Rig, taking the appearance of a short stereotypical devil with goggles on his head, his tail waving about. He then moved at lightning speed as he arrived near the car and started dismantling it. His creepy laughter filled the lab as he immersed himself in his joy. Don't change its outer appearance, another Zion said before he transformed into Upgrade. Upgrade then possessed the whole production line and turned it into one big cube. The machines were upgraded into something that didn't exist on Earth in the present. The machine was a crafter. It was used for creating microparts before Upgrade possessed it. Now, its capabilities were beyond human standards. It could produce 30th century tech in minutes. The final Zion took the suitcase on his table and threw it to the machine, which opened its maws and swallowed it. He was in charge of the suit's production. The tuxedo would also have some of his upgrades. The most basic was increased strength and size adjustment. Make it comfortable. Zion turned to his desk. It was time to design some stuff. A spaceship, the watchtower, a hyperspace engine, and a warp drive. The spaceship was for his interstellar exploration to find the things he needed and to collect potent DNA samples for the Omnitrix. The watchtower design because the Justice League would need it, and the blueprint would reduce the time it would take to build. Finally, the hyperspace engine and warp drive were to make his travel easy. The warp engine could take him to the end of the universe, but it has a high cooldown time, so in its place will be the hyperspace engine to take him to a nearby solar system or habitable planet. He would then stay if it was habitable and learn their culture. It would also satisfy his hunger for adventure. Zion didn't think further and transformed. Brainstorm. Zion now looked like a roasted crab with his copper shell, his pincer-like hands, with his 6 legs, added to the appearance of a crab. He wore a silver and black neck brace that held the Omnitrix. Brainstorm then pinched the pen and started to do some mathematical calculations, processing much data and creating new theories from the old. Zion had already memorized all the founding knowledge on Earth, from relativity to quantum mechanics. He was using the present knowledge he acquired to create the mathematical formula that will help him in his interstellar travel. After all, he didn't want to get teleported into a black hole's horizon. It would mean certain death. Not inside the black hole due to its massive gravity affecting the space around it. The warp wouldn't be able to teleport into it, and he would be crushed to death if it did. Then you might be asking why he didn't turn into gray matter to create the needed formulas. The answer is processing power. Cerebrocrustacean's brain allowed them to process data at higher speeds. Remember, no matter how much processing power your brain has, if you are dumb, you are dumb. Brainstorm's hand moved with relative ease as he lined up hundreds of equations on his table and derived new equations, a new formula from each of them. This continued for hours before he stopped at the final equation. The equation looked so simple, but it could explode many brains if someone tried to understand it with their limited knowledge. Seeing that he had finished his task, Brainstorm turned to look at the others. Upgrade had finished making the suit and was going through the final checkup. Jury Rig had an evil smile as he sat atop a new car. The car looked a bit different now. Think about a 2016 Ford Mustang turned into a Mini Cooper. This weird design suited the car well, but it would attract too much attention. Brainstorm then watched as Jury Rig pointed to where he had placed the Batbike. The bike was rebuilt too. It retained its previous design but was added with more muscle, as in gears and fittings, the bike from Dark Knight Rises. Brainstorm shook his head before moving toward Upgrade. He wanted to see the tuxedo. Seeing him approach, Upgrade made a compartment for display and placed the suit in it. Brainstorm gave a nod of satisfaction. The tuxedo's intricate design was a masterpiece of craftsmanship. The golden linings that adorned the suit were not mere embellishments but a careful composition that told a story. It started at the lapels, where they fanned out like the delicate roots of a golden tree, each line extending and branching in an almost organic vine-like fashion. As these intricate lines descended, they radiated outward, like a burst of light, creating a mesmerizing contrast with the deep black fabric. The golden threads continued to weave their way down the jacket's front, resembling a path of stardust leading to an elegant destination. The jacket's cuffs and pockets featured smaller, yet equally mesmerizing golden accents, showcasing a recurring motif of intertwined veins, leaves, and delicate floral patterns. These embellishments added a touch of whimsical charm to the overall design, making the tuxedo not just a garment but a canvas for a story that was waiting to be told. The tuxedo, tailored to perfection, was a work of art. Its deep black fabric with intricate golden weaving exuded an aura of elegance, while fine golden linings traced every contour, imbuing it with an air of opulence. The shirt underneath was crisp and white, the perfect canvas for the obsidian bow tie that completed the ensemble. Brainstorm was in awe of his creation. He took enough time to appreciate the creation before he opened the jacket to see the interior. Unlike the exterior, the interior design was packed with golden circuitry. These circuits were the main component of the suit as they were inlaid with microchips and nanofiber that would assist him in many ways in the coming future. Chapter 20. The Tuxedo. Back at Gotham. The afternoon glow filtered through the stained glass of Wayne Manor. How was the meeting, Master Dick? Alfred Pennyworth, the venerable butler, inquired. Not as well as I expected it to go, but he did agree to collaborate with us. Robin, Dick Grayson, recounted as he ran his fingers through his raven-black hair. Their footsteps echoed through the stately mansion as they made their way to the Batcave. Alfred followed Robin, a step behind as he asked about the meeting. He had been briefed by Bruce about the importance of this meeting, and he was here to check how well it went, as this was one of the meeting Dick attended as both Robin and Bruce's adopted son. The fact that the other person knew of his identity added to his worry. That's a promising news, Master Dick, Alfred remarked. Did you get a sense of their motivation and any potential concern? Robin's expression grew more pensive as he responded. There are concerns about his commitment, him going back on his words, but he was adamant on not letting his tech fall in the wrong hands. He was open to a partnership on mutual benefit, if trust is not opted. The venerable butler furrowed his brow. His concern evident. I see, it is crucial to address the concerns and ensure they understand, Alfred advised. Did you set up the following meeting to discuss the details? Robin nodded. He agreed to meeting in the Batcave and he will be working here until he finished building the atomic engine. Him working here might give us a chance to analyze him and he will be under our observation. It is good then, Alfred said as the metal door before them split open. Master Bruce has been waiting for your return. Zion's fortress. This looks neat. Zion, now wearing his new suit, checked himself on the mirror. The intricate golden patterns, the slick and smooth design, and the high-quality materials all brought the best of the art. The suit was the tuxedo. The black fabric laced with intricate golden patterns that spoke of craftsmanship beyond the ordinary. A suit does bring the man out of the boy, Zion remarked. The suit was no ordinary attire. The pitch-black tuxedo was a high-tech battlesuit mixed with elegance, concealing an arsenal of cutting-edge technology. The suit fitted perfectly with his body, giving him a sharp look. The suit wasn't only for the good looks, as it was a battle armor on the inside and out. The suit embodied both style and substance. The suit enhanced his strength, speed, and durability to a superhuman level. The nanofibers inlaid in the suit acted as auxiliary muscles, increasing his strength. It also assisted his marksmanship and other accuracy-related tasks. The suit was also fully bulletproof, added with kinetic absorption to reduce impact and store charge. It could also had an invisibility cloak, allowing him to turn invisible when needed. The suit also packed an advanced stealth mode for covert operations. The suit was inputted with multiple martial arts skill, making the wearer a skilled fighter. Then there was an arsenal of gadgets and built-in weapons, such as grapples, lasers, and energy shield for offense and defense. There was also some other advanced techs that will act like plot armor, but who cares? Now for the babies. The kinetic gloves and anti-gravity shoes. The glove was pitch black with golden patterns near the wrist connecting seamlessly with the suit's embroidery. The best part is that the golden patterns would appear as kinetic energy gets absorbed by the suit. The anti-gravity shoes, they look formal, but they were anything but formal, as it had some advanced tech stuffed into it. Think about Prowler's shoes, but smooth and slick instead of edgy. Then the final touch of the white shirt. It was more than a shirt as it worked like a Neuralink connection. All the suit's functions like a central nerve. All Zion had to do was think for the suit to do. Not the intrusive thought but intended ones. The wearer would become the living extension of the suit. Zion combed back his messy hair back to suit the tuxedo, but they wouldn't stay and became more messy with each attempt. Zion tried to tame his hair a few more times. However, his hair only ended up more messy. Zion stopped his fight and looked at his clones. You guys want to continue working, or? Zion inquired, attracting the attention of his colleges. Upgrade broke the silence. The guns are finished and I am thinking of building the all-spark. Upgrade replied with determination as he continued working on producing another pair of suits for other needs. But Gray Matter, the voice of reason, interjected, but we don't have materials for it. We can just order some. Upgrade offered a simple solution. Gray Matter, however, took their ambition to another level with a proposition. Since Earth doesn't have enough material, why don't we build a quantum matter extractor, QME, or interdimensional matter extractor, IME? It will solve our problem of lack of materials, Gray Matter suggested. QME, or quantum mineral extractor, utilize quantum superposition to extract minerals from other dimension. By exploiting the principles of quantum superposition, allowing it to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, collect minerals, and return with them to our dimension. IME, or interdimensional mineral extractor, utilize many advanced physics concepts, such as string theory and quantum mechanics, to tap into the multiverse and extract minerals from alternate dimension or universe. They both work on different concepts, but they work to bring minerals from other dimensions. Both devices would produce a high amount of minerals, enough to turn Moon into a city with only few days of operation. Zion raised an eyebrow, his practicality shining through. But both devices require an immense amount of energy to operate. We would need to build a singularity energy generator to support them. Singularity Energy Generator, or SEG, is a device that harnesses power of an artificial singularity for clean and virtually limitless energy production. But if not made correctly, it would produce a massive gravitational field enough to form a real singularity, a black hole. Do you want to risk destabilizing the entire solar system? Zion added, his skepticism waiting on the audacious plan. And we can't build it with Earth's current technological level. Upgrade pointed the flaw. Grey Matt, thinking several steps ahead, responded. But we can reduce the scale of QME and IME so the atomic engine could support them. Zion, realizing the enormity of the task at hand, voiced his concerns. That could be a solution, but the output might not meet our production needs. And building both the QME and IME require nearly the same level of advanced technology as constructing the SEG. It all boils down to our technology not reaching the required level. Upgrade's frustration was palpable. Grey Matter's solution-oriented mind reappeared. That's true, but if we could create a mechanical city, we'd have the means to develop the necessary technology. Mechanical city. It is a city-sized production line consisting on many different parts of it dedicated for different purposes. One of the main components would be the research center that will continue research on automation to come up with many new theory and technology, but ideas need to be input. The other component would be the massive production line that will be able to produce any kind of tech as it will be upgraded with the advancement of technology produced by the research center. Zion's response was grounded in reality. Unfortunately, we can't build that on Earth. If only we could terraform a moon similar to Galvan B, Upgrade sighed, dejectedly. While Upgrade was lamenting, he noticed the sudden silence in the air. He turned his gaze at Grey Matter and Zion, noticing the wide grin on their faces. He felt something irk him as he noticed the insanity raising in their eyes. We could terraform Mars, Grey Matter suggested. Zion's playful banter came forth. Martians. Grey Matter responded with humor. Heat blast. Zion's rebuttal was more contemplative. Genocide. Grey Matter remained steadfast. Habitable. How? Zion asked. To Zion's question, Grey Matter pointed at Upgrade. It could work, Zion nodded, the seed of the audacious plan taking root. Upgrade, still processing this new path they were embarking on, voiced his objection on using him. Hey. But Zion and Grey Matter didn't care of his objection on using him as they started a new project to terraform a whole planet or at least a part of it. This audacious project of theirs would be the foundation for something bigger. Why not terraform Earth's moon? Upgrade question. As they now plan on terraforming. Grey Matter, however, was quick to quash the idea, dismissing it with a simple, not worth the effort. But Mars is. Upgrade inquired. A planet to own and, burning Martian, Zion's answered. Fair enough, Upgrade conceded. With that, Upgrade focused on creating the gadgets needed for Zion's hero career. Zion wasn't planning on using the Omnitrix as a hero. It is better to keep it a secret for now and it will divide his identity. Not that he had one. Zion transformed into Grey Matter, followed by both Grey Matters engaging in a heated debate on how to terraform Mars, or at least a part of it into a mechanical city. They were also contemplating how to deal with the small amount of Martians of Mars. The near-extinct species would become a headache if they wanted trouble with them. They were also planning on getting the burning Martian DNA by combining the DNA of both green, white, and other color of Martians if they were present. Omnitrix could rebuild the burning Martian DNA by reverse engineering. It was one of its new function, the ability to rebuild biomatrix or reverse simulate to produce an extinct species biomatrix. Batcave. As Robin and Alfred entered the Batcave, the metal door slid shut behind them, sealing them in the world of the Dark Knight. The towering figure of Batman, without his iconic cape and cowl, stood near the Batcomputer, monitoring the ongoing surveillance of Gotham City. Robin, Alfred, Batman's gravelly voice welcomed them, his stern expression giving away nothing. How did the meeting go? Robin took a deep breath, a mixture of apprehension and determination in his eyes. It's had its challenges, but he agreed to collaborate with us, Bruce. Batman's gaze intensified, the weight of responsibility etched onto his every movement. Promising, but concerns must be addressed. Robin continued, he's steadfast about keeping his technology out of the wrong hands. We've scheduled a follow-up meeting in the Batcave, and he'll be working here while he constructs the atomic engine. This proximity will allow us to closely monitor him. Batman nodded, a rare hint of approval in his eyes. That's a strategic move, Dick. We need to ensure that the technology remains under our control. He won't make a move without our knowledge. Alfred's gaze shifted between the two, concern etched into his features. Master Bruce, we should also be cautious about the other individual's knowledge of you identities. That knowledge is a double-edged sword. Batman acknowledged the gravity of the situation. His voice a rumbled of contemplation. We will need to take every precaution, Alfred. But for now, we proceed with the plan. Dick, I want you to ensure that every possible security is in place for the upcoming meeting in the Batcave. Robin's expression was resolute. Yes, Batman. I was already planning on enhancing the security protocol and activate perimeter alarms. I also plan on setting up a monitoring system for the Batcave to ensure that nothing goes unnoticed. Batman nodded his approval. Good, we will proceed with the next step of the plan.